Daphne Bucator. Her father is the general director of Jasso Bank, managing all the money of 3 continents. Her mother owns most of the businesses in the kingdom. Born an heiress to 1,000 gold mines, a true lady of the upper class, wealthier than the royal family. The name that always appears in the kingdom's newspapers, never quietly, the Red Rose of Secretian. That is me. And who is that celebrated prince? Right now, at a certain execution ground, someone shouts loudly, "Carry out the sentence. Sinner, Celestin Teriosa. You are convicted of treason, using the army to conspire to assassinate the king. According to the laws of Secretian, the traitor will be publicly executed right here." Daphne looked around and thought to herself with a sigh, so many people. Over there are all royals. Anyway, the death of an illegitimate prince is enough to become a sensational rumor. They sit there pretending to be sad, but in reality, they just want to mock. But today, things will not go as they wish. Why? Because I am here. Daphne smiled brightly and bowed, saying, "Your Majesty." He replied indifferently, "Oh, Daphne, weren't you in the drawing room today? I don't want you to see this sight. They're the treasonous military force. What a pity." She didn't reply, thinking to herself with a sigh. Just in time, how fortunate. Then she hurriedly bowed politely and said, "Your Majesty, I am Daphne Bucator. I have an important request, which is why I rushed here." Hearing this, he couldn't help but ask curiously, "Oh, what do you want?" She asked bluntly. "Not long ago, my father helped pay off the national debt that you borrowed from the South, didn't he?" The gray-haired courtier questioned in alarm. "Bucator, what are you doing?" She ignored him and continued cheerfully. "Besides, there are also the king's personal debts from gambling. You once borrowed half of my family's gold mines." He fumed and shouted, What? How insolent." She continued to ignore him and said with a faint smile, "So, I persuaded my father to wipe out those debts, but not without conditions." The king, sweating, asked suspiciously, "Not without conditions?" Daphne denied with a crinkled eye smile. "Oh my, how could that be?" The gray-haired courtier angrily scolded, "Insolent! How dare you make demands before the king of Secretian?" He quickly waved his hand to signal him to be quiet, and then asked in a serious tone, "Speak, Daphne, what do you want?" She suddenly gave a smirk, then pointed to the side and replied, "That person, give Celestin Teriosa to me. That traitor, sell him to me." Hearing this, the courtiers immediately voiced their opposition. "Your Majesty, this is overstepping. No, it's treason, even if Lady Bucator is the late queen's niece." The king couldn't help but ask doubtfully, "Is that man's life really so cheap?" Daphne giggled and replied, "Don't go back on your word. Uncle, you owe me quite a lot, don't you?" The king didn't reply, but rested his chin on his hand and grunted. Then he closed his eyes and pondered the matter for a moment. Then he commanded in a loud voice, "Postpone the execution of the traitor Teriosa to another day." Hearing this, Daphne immediately bowed and thanked him with a bright smile. "Thank you, Your Majesty, for granting my request." The courtiers were extremely indignant and loudly protested. "Your Majesty, what are you saying?" "Your Majesty, you must eliminate that filthy bloodline." "Your Majesty, them?" She quickly thought to herself. "The king of Secretian only knows how to pamper the Bucator house, because it is our family that is replenishing the treasury that the king has emptied for gambling and pleasure." The king calmly raised his hand to signal them to be quiet and said in a serious voice, "Enough, let our Daphne decide for herself. Everyone withdraw." She thought to herself, "What is power? It is money," while saying with a bright smile of thanks, "Thank you, Your Majesty. I will send a gift to the palace later." Then she unconsciously glanced at the crowd standing nearby and thought to herself, "Ah, right, those curious onlookers." They suddenly shouted their opposition loudly. "Execute the traitor, follow the law," which made her sigh to herself. If I knew it. Is watching someone die that interesting?" Then she cheerfully announced in a loud voice, "Ladies and gentlemen, the way is to the right. Each person will receive a gold coin." Hearing this, they immediately started clamoring and asking each other, "A gold coin? A real gold coin? Is it a robbery? Don't push. Hey, I was here first. You can only take one. A gold coin." As she walked, she thought to herself with relief, "Done." As soon as she reached Celestin's side, Daphne greeted him. "Hello, Your Highness." He asked with a faint, curious smile. "On what grounds did you dismiss everyone? Did you forget that I am the traitor who attempted to assassinate the king?" While tapping the lever, she replied with a crinkled eye smile, "Oh, how could I forget?" He continued calmly, If you have a gun, shoot me. Make sure to shoot me so I die instantly without pain. Besides, dying by hanging is so undignified. My lady, hearing this, she couldn't help but think indignantly. I saved his life, and he's spouting such nonsense? He's so handsome I almost forgot this is a madman. After thinking, she crossed her arms and said with a mocking, encouraging smile, "If you want to die, bite your tongue and die. It's a good thing you don't have a gag in your mouth. I won't stop you, your highness." Remember, even if you die, your body is still mine. Seeing that Celestin not only didn't argue back, but even gave her a slight smile, Daphne couldn't help but think in confusion. What is this? I should have the upper hand, right? Yet he still looks so composed in that pathetic state. Then she said goodbye with a bright smile. Anyway, see you later. I have to go choose a wedding dress for Psyche. Seeing his expression suddenly darken, she couldn't help but think gleefully. As expected, he reacted to the name Psyche. This is fun. Then she suggested with a faint smile, "Instead, my friend will take you home. Celep, don't run away. Stay put." He suddenly asked, "Celep, is that what you call me?" She didn't answer immediately, first replying in her heart, "That's right. It's a nickname that only I in this kingdom can use. Do you understand?" Then she spoke aloud, "Be good and wait." He asked, puzzled, "So what do I get?" She broke into a nervous sweat, thinking, "What? Another demand?" Then she answered vaguely, "Well, maybe an indirect kiss, if you wait patiently, Celestin." Celestin thought silently for a moment, then said with a faint smile, "No one has ever called me that." She asked back with a smirk, "So what should I call you?" "Son of a failure." Then she thought to herself, "So annoying, always making empty threats. Why is he so tall? The wound on his neck looks serious." Then she turned around and said, "Be good and wait. I'll be back soon. Get your wounds treated properly, and take a bath." She walked away resentfully, thinking, "Oh God, this madman. It's not the problem that he's an eccentric. Damn it, why is he so handsome? I'm going crazy. I've lost my mind. I'm really going crazy. Damn it, I'm really going crazy. How can a face like that exist in this world?" I still remember it vividly. Wow, having just survived a near-death experience and still flashing a smile, so charming it makes people swoon. A small note, inner screaming. What a heart-stirringly handsome man. Finally, after 2 years of effort, I have achieved what I wanted. The illegitimate prince, representing Secretian, the prince's substitute in war, the king's puppet, the Grand Duke who owns the Ghost Island, and just a rebellious supporting male character, used and discarded by the female lead time and time again. And yet, in the end, that Celestin has fallen into my hands, right in front of everyone. From the moment the memories of my past life returned, I decided I had to keep that man by my side. The life of Daphne Bucator, if summarized in one sentence, would be power, money. Without those two things, I'd rather bite my tongue and die. At least, that was before that incident 2 years ago. Romeo Rodrigue, the legitimate prince of pure blood, the fiancé of Daphne Bucator, also the cousin she grew up with since childhood. For Daphne, who always put honor first, this was no big deal. If she could become queen, what's wrong with marrying her cousin? But Romeo didn't think so. In fact, just because of a girl who fell from nowhere, he fell madly in love. Even though I don't want to admit it, she is truly beautiful. The moment he saw her, Romeo was utterly mesmerized, silently calling, "Psyche, in a high society of this palace, there is no lady with better qualifications than me. Family, education, status, everything. Yet just because of some girl who rolled in from nowhere, my position as queen is threatened. I can't let this stand." On one fateful day, the crowd couldn't help but buzz with gossip at the scene before them. What's that? Who fell? Did someone slip? Oh my God, is that Daphne? I heard she was trying to tease Psyche and fell into the lake. Honestly, isn't she tired? Always causing trouble. Hearing this, Daphne thought with extreme anger, I heard everything. I heard it all. Why must I, a person of status and wealth, endure this humiliation and be considered a reject on the marriage market? What to do now? If this continues, Romeo will marry Psyche and my plan to become queen will be over. To be honest, teasing Psyche is getting boring too. Wait a minute. That's right. I just need to eliminate the source of the problem, right? Why didn't I think of this until now? Killing the heir to the throne will surely cause a commotion. Even though my godfather gave me this land, it wasn't for this. This matter, putting everything aside, is a matter of my pride. The wall is low, not even a single guard. Relying only on skill to fight, She couldn't help but say with annoyance, "Ah, this is so annoying." Then she continued to think to herself, "The more I think about it, the angrier I get. For the sake of power, I've had to live with the phrase, 'I love you to death,' for that damn cousin of mine." Thinking this, Daphne suddenly muttered, "Well, that's not wrong. Loving someone to the point of wanting to kill them isn't entirely unreasonable." Then she quickly threw the door open and immediately covered her nose with her hand, frowning as she thought, "Ugh, the smell of alcohol. Is this guy not attending the festival because he's drunk?" But whatever, for whatever reason, not showing up is the same thing. Daphne suddenly stopped in her tracks, then looked down at the lying Romeo. Then her eyes widened with fury, and she loudly rebuked, "Romeo, I actually have a lot to say to you. I honestly just want to die and get it over with, but you know what? I'm very afraid of being lonely. I can't die alone. So come with me." For some reason, she suddenly stopped her action and exclaimed in shock, "Huh." Then she thought in utter astonishment, "It's not Romeo. The demonic Grand Duke? Is he crying? But why is he here?" Staring intently at Celestin, Daphne muttered in admiration, "I have to admit, he's really handsome." "Huh? What did he just say? Damn it, these fireworks are so inconsiderate. How can I hear anything in this noise?" Saying that, she turned her gaze outside. Then she frowned slightly at the brilliant fireworks in front of her, and suddenly she was dazed for a moment. Next, she stared in amazement at what she was seeing. For some reason, a message appeared in her head at that moment. "Celestin's part is really too sad. Is this the best they could do?" This made her clutch her head and think in confusion, "Wait, what is this? A hallucination? No. This is my memory. I can feel it. This is exactly what I experienced before. Memories of a past life. Oh God, what a disaster. I couldn't even delete my SNS account. But thinking back, this man, oh God, is truly sick, the bland supporting male character in every work. That's right, and Celestin is the most severe case. He used to be my favorite character. No regrets in my choice. Power, money. If I don't have them, I'd rather bite my tongue and die." But Daphne suddenly stopped and turned her gaze towards a room with a predominantly white color scheme ahead, along with the man sitting right in front of her, and continued to think to herself, "Having a man like that by my side is worth 10,000 times more." In Daphne's opinion, his beauty is truly a masterpiece, just like a famous painting. Daphne closed her eyes tightly, the sunlight shining on her face. Directly opposite her, Celestin was also listlessly poking at his salad. Looking at Celestin's lazy face, Daphne really couldn't understand. How could that lazy guy dare to plan a murder? She clearly remembered in the original story. He even succeeded in the original. The problem was his actions afterward. Daphne was lost in her thoughts. Well, now that those things won't happen, I can rest assured. Director. Daphne looked towards the source of the voice. Misa, Daphne's secretary, sighed and said to her wearily, "I don't think I can support the director's new love affair." Daphne frowned and asked him what. "Why? Did he do something?" Misa recounted. Before, he hadn't done anything yet, but he himself was already a nuisance. During the 3 days the director was absent, that rebellious prince has. He suddenly stopped. Daphne tilted her head and asked, "What? Did he cause trouble?" Suddenly her eyes sparkled like crystal. "Hit someone." Yet Daphne asked Misa with an even brighter smile, "Was anyone injured? Did anyone die? Did he break things, tear something apart, or cause a scene in front of investors?" Misa's mind was in turmoil. Must not curse at the boss. This repeated exactly 5 times. He finally calmed down enough to continue. Because they were afraid he would lose his temper, everyone had a gun or dagger ready. They were in a state of tension for 3 whole days. It wasn't what Daphne wanted, so she sighed, not wanting to hear more. Misa got even angrier. Must not curse. Then he continued. Unfortunately, he stayed quietly in one place. This made Daphne's eyes widen. Did she do something to him? Nothing special. He just wandered around everywhere, treating this place like his own home. Hearing that, Daphne was even more satisfied, smiling from ear to ear, a hamster running around the house. Busy preparing for the crown prince's wedding, I didn't get to see that cute scene. She replied to Misa, "I made a promise to him, so rest assured he will be good." Misa was silent in thought. Then with a sigh, he also advised, "Anyway, I still think it would be better if you didn't break off the engagement with the crown prince compared to a prince with whom any negotiation is useless." Misa voiced his thoughts. His Highness Romeo is a person who always strives for peace, looking from the past, present, or future. He hesitated, then continued. He is truly a suitable person. Daphne frowned. Peace, striving for who? Daphne recalled 1. The cousin who once said my red hair was like a flame and lit it on fire. 2. The cousin who held a rowdy party right during the grand opening of my hotel. 3. The cousin who deliberately gave me the wrong location, so I had to wait 5 hours outside. Seeing her expression change rapidly, Misa muttered fearfully, "Are you listening? Director, you know that rebellion is a capital crime. Please reconsider." Daphne touched her wine glass and replied gently, "I heard everything." She repeated the main point of the story. Rebellion is a capital crime. He immediately nodded enthusiastically. "So, please reconsider." Daphne shook her head, denying that intention. "But his crime is not that, so the punishment will also be different." Misa frowned. "What? Then what is his crime?" "It's—" Daphne smiled brightly. "The crime of being ridiculously handsome. I think beheading and then hanging his head would be a more suitable punishment." She was lost in her happiness. "If we let the people of the capital admire that beauty, I wonder if we could make money by charging an admission fee." Misa was speechless. Daphne froze. He was too tired. "I'm really resigning. Thank you for everything." She still didn't try to keep him, only instructing, "I'll be in later." Daphne was very satisfied with Misa. In the end, he'll go back to the office to work anyway. Even if he's a bit annoyed, he's a very caring secretary. Daphne glanced over at Celestin. He was still listlessly poking at his salad. The more Daphne looked, the more captivated she became. She smiled. What a peaceful afternoon. The past few days have really been like a storm. Before, the two had a tense conversation, try to look pitiful in front of the legal team. Celestin frowned. "Me? Pitiful?" Daphne crossed her arms and replied nonchalantly, "Aren't you?" Celestin asked, confused, "Would it be strange if only I survived?" She snapped irritably, "Hey, you already survived alone." Celestin also nodded. Indeed, during that debriefing, Daphne acted scared and continuously explained evasively, "I myself don't understand how this happened. This time it really wasn't my fault." Seeing her act flawlessly, Celestin also began to put on a worried expression, hesitantly answering the court officials, "I have nothing to do with the rebellion. I was just hanging out with some new soldiers I met. This is a false accusation." Daphne even cried in court, "Yes, it's a false accusation. We were always together." This quickly made the news. Furiosa, just a false accusation. Not related to rebellion, Bucators rose. Crown Prince Celestin declares innocence before the royal court. Traitors saved by a she-devil. Turns out it was Cupid coming to the rescue. Daphne calmly sipped her wine. "I've pulled all the stops to turn him from a traitor into a royal prince," crying and screaming until I was drenched in sweat. But she was satisfied with it. The headline is wonderful. Buying the whole major newspaper was worth it. My fame spreading across the continent is not a coincidence. Suddenly a pea bounced from the plate. Daphne stared. "Can't he pick up a pea?" She imagined a small chick. So cute. Her eyes sparkled as she looked at him. That IT didn't feel like this in the original story. She muttered, "Of course not." Celestin, a villain so much so that he was barely worth being called a supporting character. Sentences full of criticism and resentment. When will that bastard die? He really is a bastard. But to Daphne, he wasn't that hateful. After observing him for a few days, she saw that his personality wasn't that bad, nor was he cunning. Celeste suddenly called out, "Bucator, it's hot." His hand skillfully unbuttoned the top 2 buttons of his shirt. "Open the window." She looked at him resentfully. "He's lazy. So lazy he can't even be bothered to eat meat." Daphne looked up with a frown, replying coldly, "If you're hot, take it off." But inside she was screaming, "Yes, take it off." Celeste looked at her, gently stroking his hair as he replied, "That you're still so short-spoken." Daphne's gaze wavered slightly. When she saw him unbutton his shirt down to his chest, feeling more comfortable, she thought to herself while screaming wildly inside, "The best fan's service." She was lost in her stream of thought, but that wound will probably take a long time to heal. How sad. Seeing Daphne frozen, he called out to snap her out of it. "What are you doing?" Celeste invited the girl over. "Come here and fan me, Bucator." Daphne was stunned. The next second, a rare smile appeared. She approached Celeste, putting on her most beautiful expression as she looked at him. Celeste also glanced at her, smiling slightly. Her eyes held a look of satisfaction, not a hint of embarrassment as she looked directly at him. Does that heartless prince know? Celeste gently raised his hand into the air. What happened in the world where I didn't help? Then he touched that soft, red hair. Celeste smiled demandingly. Bucator, tell me your name. She looked at him, then glanced at her hair that he was playing with. I in that world. What were we like? 2 years ago, on the day she met Celeste, Daphne coldly kicked the door open. On the bed, a man was waiting for her. "Tato, you're here." Daphne looked at him coldly. "What is this?" She frowned, questioning him. "Why are you here?" "This is my room." Romeo, he gave a strange smile. What's with that look? I'm on a ghost. Daphne, still ignoring the banter, answered the question. Why did you come here? Romeo got off the bed. I heard my fiancé fell into the water. How could I sit still? Saying that, he slowly walked over and even put his arm around her. I was so worried I rushed here. Daphne frowned, looking down on him. Don't talk nonsense. Since when did your highness care about things like this? Romeo chuckled. Your mouth is so sour today, isn't it? Daphne finally pushed him away, looking at him with sharp eyes. Romeo Rodriguez. Romeo still gave her a loving look. So harsh. Is it because I accepted your invitation? This is a legitimate prince of pure blood. My cousin, Daphne Bucator's fiancé, and the one who took my life for love, the main character of this tragedy. Daphne gave a mysterious smile, memories of her past life suddenly flooding back. Because it was my favorite novel, I still remember the ending in every detail. Celestin, the crazed supporting male lead, relentlessly committed. Evil acts to win the female lead's heart. You slaughtered Psyche's entire family and relatives just to possess her heart. Celeste, a madman willing to do anything for love, even risking his life to plot. A rebellion. And just as crazy, there was the legitimate prince, Romeo, blinded by love. Who killed me? You made Psyche suffer. He spared no one, killing Celestin, who stood in his way, and then just plunged deeper into a bottomless abyss. In the end, Psyche herself ended her own life. Will that terrifying ending repeat itself once more? Daphne muttered in disgust. Truly, they're all just madmen. She calmly and respectfully dismissed Romeo from the room. From now on, I will never invite you again. You should understand that. Now go. He glanced briefly in the direction she pointed. Romeo laughed loudly and asked, Go to my death? Daphne muttered angrily. Get on your horse and go. There are servants outside. Romeo did not obey Daphne's words. I'm not going. You're going to the orphanage today anyway. My palace is so boring. He even thought, even though I prepared a luxurious villa for you, why do you keep working? Daphne angrily cursed at Romeo. But why is your damn self in my room and on my bed? It's so infuriating. Suddenly he fell silent. Daphne also realized that now was a good opportunity. Romeo. She called his name so only the two of them could hear. Maybe now is the chance. Let's break off the engagement. Romeo looked up in surprise. Then, his eyes wide and mouth agape, he was utterly flabbergasted. Huh? Romeo jumped up and questioned. Break off the engagement? What are you suddenly talking about? Daphne even shrugged and begged him, Break it off, please, break it off. I'm begging you, break it off. You marry Psyche. I'll help. Romeo shouted eagerly. Let's sign the papers right away. He stepped forward, his face beaming as he feigned concern that I've asked to break off the engagement many times before, but you wouldn't do it. Now you've suddenly changed your mind. It's really strange that you change your mind after falling into the water. Your wet red hair looks seductive and breathtakingly beautiful. Daphne frowned. This guy, in Socratian, a woman's opinion is completely respected in marriage. Romeo only cared about Daphne's last sentence. So how are you going to help me? And Psyche? She froze, cursing inwardly. This damn pest. Daphne bluntly pointed out the solution. Right now, you just need to shut up, smile gently, and nod. That's the correct answer. She even emphasized it one more time. It really is. Romeo suddenly became suspicious. He frowned, scrutinizing her. But what is this? You were clamoring to be queen, and now you're declaring to break off the engagement, supporting my love. He didn't believe Daphne was in a normal state. Did you go crazy after falling in the water? There's a condition, isn't there? A condition? I really hadn't thought of one. She put on a cold expression while inwardly calculating newly thought-up conditions. But now that he mentioned it, I have one. You'll agree to everything, right? Daphne asked, probing first. Romeo urged her, Speak. Her eyes were pensive, calculating based on the novel. Based on the timing, it must be around the middle of the original novel. The fool who fell in love for the first time was so flustered that he came to my room every night to confide in me. And the weak Psyche could only misunderstand, jealous of what was happening without knowing the truth. It probably won't be long before she will meet that deadly end. She pointed a finger straight at Romeo, making him promise. Swear it. No matter what happens, you must know. She corrected the promise. Promise not to kill me and the Grand Duke. Romeo looked confused. What? Why would I kill you? He didn't understand what she wanted, and why bring up the Grand Duke all of a sudden? Go on, what's wrong with you? Did you eat something bad? Daphne looked at him coldly. You say that now, but in the end, you still threw me to the crocodiles because you went mad with love. Daphne started to state her next condition. I will help you two get married healthily. The royals who object, I will make them shut up, but she made a different proposal. Give Celestin Teriosa to me. She gave a strange smile, but I won't lose when it comes to madness either. Bucator, tell me your name. Back in the present, she muttered. It was a choice with no regrets, because I saved this man from death. Celeste was playfully toying with Daphne's hair. Her inside and outside showed two completely different extremes. But why is he acting up like this now? Daphne replied coldly. What's it to you? Celeste thought that was a name and praised it endlessly. What's it to you? That's a nice name. Daphne frowned and repeated, No, I'm asking you. Suddenly, she recalled the crazy past and thought to herself, does he think I truly love him? Neris had once screamed when she saw her rolling on the floor crying. Milady, people are watching. That's right, at the courthouse, I put on a show of love, cried, and even pretended to faint. Daphne coldly lifted her head, letting a few strands of hair slip from Celeste's hand. She frowned and asked, but it's strange. How do you not know my name? Her gaze was just as cold. Am I that unknown? To not know me in Socratian would be truly foolish, Prince. And yet, he also nodded brightly. That's right. Daphne's eyes widened. He just admitted he's a fool. Afterwards, he explained the reason he asked for her name. But I'm a foreigner. I don't know much. Lady Bucator. She feigned a reproach. Goodness, do you live without reading the newspapers? Never mind. Even if you don't know, Celestin suddenly brought up the past before Daphne had the memories of the original story. But I know you once made Seiki suffer, and even wanted to create a Romeo-like tragedy. Do you want to try again with my sister? Daphne was not surprised, on the contrary. She casually mocked. It seems that while you were locked up, you only read trashy tabloids. No need for a summary. That love has already ended. Celeste was still curious. Why? Bucator, there is no one more suitable to be the crown princess than you. Celestin gently toyed with the fork on his plate, offering praise. You have benevolent ambition, and you are intelligent. It's truly a good fit. Think about it again. Daphne knew his intentions perfectly well and said it bluntly. What? Do you think that if I reconcile with Romeo, Psyche will come to you? He immediately froze for a moment. Celestin smiled faintly without answering. Daphne looked at his attitude and had a laugh, so predictable. Celestin, you speak of your calculations so openly. She muttered, blaming Celestin. You fool, is Psyche that precious to you? The moment the news broke that you weren't dead and the death sentence was postponed indefinitely, do you know what expression your lover made when she read that article? She really wanted to let him see the heroine Psyche's appearance at that moment. Celestin then put his fork down on the table and asked gently, Then let me ask another question. Daphne protested, Oh, stop. Don't open your mouth again. Celestin still asked when Daphne didn't want to listen. Why? You don't sleep with me. At this moment, Celestin stopped all his actions and looked straight into her eyes. At this moment, he was very handsome. Celestin wondered, You said you loved me so much you bought me. Wasn't letting me into your room for a purpose like that? On the surface, Daphne still replied calmly. What? But inside she was seething. What is this? Celestin's attitude was like he was sulking, as if he was dissatisfied with something. Daphne immediately found a reason to reply. Sleeping together is. He listened very attentively. Yes. Daphne gave a random reason. It's cramped. Celestin was stunned, his eyes wide as he looked at her. Cramped? The two-story bedroom is huge. The bed's so wide you'd have to roll over 6 times to see the edge. Celestin couldn't hide his laughter. Puffed. He still went along with her, nodding. That's right, sleeping together is indeed cramped. But her mood was not comfortable, a strange feeling of defeat. Celestin stood up and suggested, Even so, it's not proper to give your room to a guest. If you find it cramped, why not gift me a suitable villa? Daphne frowned, thinking to herself, Oh, so he's asking for a house. And the way he said it, what a master of scripting. She replied to him, Discuss that with my secretary. Celestin looked at her thoughtfully. The two of them looked straight into each other's eyes, but couldn't understand each other's intentions. Even from this angle, there was no trace of humiliation, to the point of wanting to immediately grab his wrist and pull him closer. Celestin finally had to speak first. May I pass? Daphne was annoyed by this unfriendly gaze, except for the condescending look from above. She frowned and reminded him, Don't order me around, and don't look down on me. He has been above me this whole time, and I am below. This made Daphne very unhappy. My line of sight must be higher than his. He should be at my feet. She ordered, Bow down. Celestin still contentedly bowed down. Then he burst out laughing. Now you wanted to look up at you? Daphne couldn't help but laugh too, asking back, the bedroom is so hot, yet you just lie there without moving. Still think you're Prince? Celestin nodded and then avoided her gaze to pass judgment. Milady, I didn't think a lady from a prestigious family would not be taught etiquette. Daphne's anger flared, but she still tried to swallow it down. Well, even if I wasn't taught, I'm sure I was taught more than you. Don't bow. Celestin replied nonchalantly. Why should I bow? I'm a prince. I even heard you tell the servants to treat me as such. Now you're not satisfied and you tell me to bow? Daphne flared up. If you give an order, I must obey. Is that it, Your Highness? Celestin revealed a sharp gaze. It's too late. If you wanted that, you should have treated me like a dog from the beginning. Don't give me a bed, but tie me with a chain outdoors, and only call me into the room when needed. Celestin pointed out the things to do if she wanted him to obey her commands. Someone like him, Daphne was surprised and muttered, could probably write a whole novel. Celestin was still lost in his own thoughts and spoke even more outrageous words. Or tie my feet and hang me upside down from the East Clock Tower for a week. Maybe then you'll become as tall as me. She was really going to lose her temper, this guy. If he was barbaric, so was she. Daphne pointed to his feet. I think otherwise, chopping off your feet would be faster. Celestin nodded in admiration. Marquis Bucator seems to have raised a rather barbaric daughter. He frowned, a sharp gaze flashing by. Why not use that talent to learn how to butcher pigs in a slaughterhouse and treat a prince like me with proper etiquette? Daphne looked up at the condescending gaze she hated, and to be honest, although she was a little angry, she smiled faintly. But this is interesting. Without this bit of courage, how could he dream of being saved by me? She suddenly laughed flirtatiously. Prince. Then she repeatedly called out loudly, Prince, Prince. That's right, a prince. He is a prince after all. If you call yourself a prince, you have to act the part, right? With that, Daphne reminded Celestin, you are a criminal, Celestin. The colder Daphne became, the more he couldn't respond. Out there, everything protruding from you will be chopped to pieces. Do you know how many people out there are waiting to kill you? I'm still treating you kindly now, but if you're not obedient later, Daphne threatened, I will brand your left shoulder with an iron clamp and cut off both your ears to turn you into a slave. So don't try to get on top of me anymore. Your Highness, you bastard. Daphne clearly showed her contempt for him to see. Celestin fell into deep thought. The two faced each other. Celestin still hadn't said a word. Finally, he compromised. If you won't move aside, then I will move aside myself. Daphne curiously glanced at his figure. What for? To take a nap again? But she quickly dismissed the thought. But I'm not so free as to drop all my work just to look at the back of his neck or his sleeping face. She suddenly ran over. Prince, let me show you a spot. A hard kick. Celestin suddenly screamed. He fell flat on the ground, not understanding why the lady did that. Daphne announced with satisfaction, the prince's place is over there. Celestin was both in pain and confused. He watched in bewilderment as she left. She approached the tea table, poured a new glass of wine. I thought you had come to your senses, but it turns out you're still crazy. Daphne gripped the glass tightly. But this is too half-hearted. Do you think this is enough to put me beneath you? Celestin scrambled to his feet. If you want to make me kneel, don't use such childish methods. He dusted off his pants and then proposed an idea. If you want to reestablish order, do it the right way, Bucator. Daphne frowned. The right way? Misa. He immediately appeared at the door. Yes, milady. Daphne pointed at the dazed Celestin and ordered, hit him 3 times. Daphne took a sip of her wine, watching the fun, just once on the face. Misa finished his task, closed the door and sighed. He's really crazy. Even after being hit like that, he just kept staring at milady. His face was swollen and red. Misa was still waiting outside, telling himself, I must always stay alert. It would be dangerous if something happened to milady in there. But Misa also found it very strange. But it's really strange. Fate is truly strange. Fragments of memory returned. The swordsmanship competition that made milady notice me. At that time, Celestin simply defeated me. You must survive at all costs. Then he suddenly gave up, letting me win. Misa also felt guilty. Thinking back, it was strange to beat up his benefactor so badly. Suddenly, the door opened while Misa was still lost in thought. Oh well, if milady gave the order, there must be a reason. Misa ran out confused and asked, Milady, you're out so early? Daphne replied calmly. It ended quickly. Tomorrow morning, call the servants to clean the room, and in the morning, bring the newspaper to my room. Misa nodded, yes, milady. Then he strode after her, but he couldn't help but glance back. Through the small crack in the door, Celestin was kneeling on the floor. He bowed his body all the way down, his flushed face murmuring, the one I love. The room was being cleaned by the maids. Misa held the newspaper in his arms, waiting. But Daphne was not in the room. He gently flipped through the newspaper. Milady went out early in the morning. The cleaning is being done, and as for the newspaper, on the newspaper, a prominent headline appeared first. Today's trouble, the mad lady of Bucator. Will she attend next month's national festival with a traitor? Misa thought to himself, a traitor? Milady will surely be furious again. Naris appeared, grumbling at him. Misa, I told you to ask him to move aside. Why are you still standing there? I only have the second floor left to clean. Misa frowned. Don't you have a mouth? Go and say it. Naris put her hands on her hips, ready to argue. You once subdued that person. Why are you like this now? At the mention of Celestin, he broke into a cold sweat. That's precisely why I'm scared. Misa and Naris looked towards the stairs where Celestin was leaning. What if he hits me? Naris criticized his weakness. What are you afraid of? You're the champion of the swordsmanship tournament. You take money from a lady. So do your job properly, you fool. I'm done cleaning and I want to go eat dessert. Hurry up. Misa had his own unspoken suffering. The problem is he screamed internally. The champion was originally that person. Misa changed his reason. The Duke is famous for controlling ghosts as soldiers. You know I'm afraid of ghosts. Naris didn't believe his lies. That's just an invalid title. You fool. Do you want to get hit? Misa was still sweating profusely, trembling with fear. Aren't you afraid? Naris immediately avoided his gaze. Of course. Both of them just looked at Celeste standing thoughtfully over there. Both of their faces turned pale. They couldn't help but be afraid. All the rumors in this kingdom. This Naris knows them all. With an appearance as beautiful as the bright moonlight. But if he dislikes someone, he immediately makes that person lie gasping for breath, no different from a corpse. Just thinking about it made Naris shudder. There was also a rumor that the Grand Duke was able to return to the kingdom because he held the king's weakness. There were even rumors that he collaborated with pirates in Arabian and his eldest brother. Naris turned to grab Misa's collar and shouted, I'm asking you because I'm too scared, but you're just as scared. Is that the attitude to have when asking for a favor? I'll tell Milady, but Naris didn't seem scared at all. Milady likes me more than you. Finally, Misa had a compromise and slowly walked over. He called out softly, Your Grace the Duke. He looked down, he turned and replied coldly, Yes. Just that was enough to scare Misa out of his wits. I'm dead, he stammered. My friend wants to clean. I respectfully ask you to please move aside a little. Celeste glanced. He smiled. I was standing here first. Misa silently chanted. That's right. And yet she kept telling me to go talk, telling me to check if this statue-like person was real or not. Naris in the back gave up. Misa bowed his head perpendicular to the floor, avoiding Celeste's gaze. Anyway, Your Grace, Naris wants to go upstairs. I hope you will move about 5 steps away. He nodded in agreement. All right. Misa felt as if a great weight had been lifted. Oh, thank you so much, Your Grace. Suddenly, Celeste called him back. This way, Misa. He froze like a stone. What? It seems I'm definitely dead, right? Yes. Celeste pondered and then asked him, Who do I love? Misa and Naris both froze. Yes. Misa asked again to be sure. When Celeste was kneeling in the room, he had shaken his head vigorously, unable to understand. If you were my lover, you wouldn't treat me like this. Celeste had said this to Daphne, but she immediately retorted, What are you talking about? I really do love you. Celeste had been gazing at this face the whole time, a face flushed with anger. How wonderful. As Romeo once said, beauty is best suited with the color red. Daphne still spoke half-heartedly. Hey, my dear prince, I think I really love you. You're about to sulk. Your mouth is about to tear. Turn away and avoid it. I will never love you. She still laughed fakely. Yes, but you know what, Prince? The girl you love will never love you either. She announced bluntly, It's all just lies. Celeste fell into a state of silence. Celeste murmured, I'm so curious. He continued, Is that so? In her heart, Daphne wondered in confusion. What's with that pained voice? I couldn't hear it clearly, but maybe he's asking why I don't love him. But on the surface, she was still very cold and speaking nonsense again. Daphne stepped closer to tell him a secret. Hey, Prince, let me tell you something. She hates you. He was stunned. He suddenly looked up at her. She wishes you were dead more than anyone, but is disappointed that you're not dead. Why save him? Why not let him die? Celeste was bewildered. It seemed a heart was in pain. If you saw that expression, Daphne smiled. Even so, I support your love. Good news is coming soon. She gently touched his face. She sat down, gently caressing this handsome face. Celeste really couldn't understand her meaning. You say you love me. What variable is this time? still the same. Seeing the two of them stunned, he asked again, "You don't know who I love?" "It is." Seeing Misa about to answer, Neris rushed forward, hitting him straight in the stomach to stop him. Neris answered bluntly, "Lady Seiki of Denver, who doesn't know?" On one side, Misa clutched his stomach in pain. Neris even emphasized, "Our Lady knows it too." He remembered yesterday's words. "The girl you love will never love you." Celeste nodded. "That's right, it's Seiki." Neris also gathered enough courage to talk to him. "If you understand, then please move aside." He held out a hand with a deep wound. "Misa," he was bewildered. "Yes," Celeste said gently. "Lend me a sword." Misa was taken aback. "A sword?" Celeste's whole body ached. "So boring. My body has become stiff." Misa gave all sorts of reasons to refuse, but a sword is too dangerous. He trembled inwardly. "It's time." Celeste frowned. "Or do you think I don't know how to use a sword?" Misa quickly waved his hands. "How could that be? Everyone knows you are famous as a swordsman." He leaned against the railing and repeated, "Now it's just a distant past." Celeste suddenly lowered his eyes, as if remembering something. "Ah, wait a minute, or is it? Do you find me dangerous?" Misa and Neris were pensive, both sharing the same thought. "That's right, to some extent." Neris also agreed. "Doesn't he know, since he came here?" Everyone has been tense. Celeste saw both of them staring at him and explained, "I just want to move my body. I'm not going to do anything. Don't look at me like that." Misa let out a soft sigh of relief. Even though he's called a traitor, he still smiles at the servants and is very obedient in front of Milady. He really isn't doing anything and has no ill intentions. Misa nodded in agreement. "In that case, let me find a wooden sword for you." Neris once again seized the opportunity. "Yes, in the meantime, could you wait in the garden? Misa will help you practice." He took another full blow, ugh. Celeste lazily shook his head. "The garden is too far." Neris still smiled. "The rose garden is right through the back door." She thought to herself about this Misa. Don't act cute and get charmed. His bad reputation is no joke. To win Lady Denver, he destroyed the entire Count's family and covered everything up. A handsome stalker, a two-faced psychopath. Neris still couldn't bring herself to like this person. In front of Milady, he pretends to be gentle, but now he's just acting polite. It's no coincidence that Count Serenus hates him so much. Neris replied, "Without Milady's order, I can't help you." Celeste's face was still flushed from yesterday. "Milady's order." Neris confirmed again. "That's right." He also compromised. "There's no other way. Thank you." Neris approached, asking for his opinion again. "So now, could you move aside a little?" This time Celeste refused. "I get nothing, it's hard to move." Neris was annoyed. "I have to finish cleaning to go eat cake." If not, he changed the subject, slowly stepping down one step. "Tell me what your lady likes, then I will move." Neris laughed loudly. "That's my job. No one knows better than me, that is." A portrait riddled with bullet holes. Daphne returned and flared up. "What the hell is this?" The portrait mother, specially commissioned as a gift. Celeste suddenly appeared. "Hello, Bucator. I put my heart and soul into this for you. So are you satisfied?" Celeste showed off his work. Daphne felt like she was about to chop him into 100 pieces. This madman. Daphne questioned him. "Celeste, what's going on?" He frowned. "What? You don't like it?" Neris said you would definitely like it. She was stunned on the spot. "What? Tell me what your lady likes?" Neris crossed her arms and replied, "It's the prince." Celeste asked again, "Me?" Neris scornfully thought to herself, "No way." Of course, she was talking about Prince Romeo, the one who is about to inherit the throne. Neris replied, "Especially. Milady loves the prince's beauty very much." She thought of a wicked plan in her head. She likes black-haired princes and absolutely hates blondes. Moreover, everything Milady likes, she gets. Just let him continue to imagine. Celeste thought about it. "Oh, thank you." Celeste, having gotten what he wanted, went down. Neris, having achieved her goal, also ran up. Misa observed for a moment and muttered, "Neris, it seems you were just teased. You may go. If you need anything, just call me." Celeste turned back. Misa, I've been forgetful lately." He nodded, yes. He patted his shoulder, "So I almost forgot about this." Celeste raised his fist again. "You're the one who slapped my face." Now, Daphne finally understood. When she came in, she had wondered why they were like that. Neris kept muttering apologies. "Milady, I'm sorry. I will come with my life," while Misa kept clutching one side of his face. I thought that trophy had finally caused a ruckus, but this is too much. Her anger flared, while Celeste was still satisfied with the picture he had created. "You said you liked me. Isn't this picture beautiful? I like girls who cry like this." Daphne angrily shouted at him. Prince, everything else can be changed, it's fine, but not this painting. Do you know how valuable this painting is? Celeste still considered a pastime. Don't be angry. Bucator, I was just bored. She was furious. Bored? Ha, damn Rodrigue. Does this family only produce vandals? She gnashed her teeth. The father was so addicted to gambling, he couldn't pay his debts. The younger brother blew up the entire garden. And the older brother. Ha! Daphne was furious. I want to shoot him so badly. Now she was of two minds. That's right, shoot him in the leg. One side was a no. Daphne, calm down. The reputation you've built for so long will collapse. In the end, her bad side won, but she was still really angry. Daphne stepped back, pressed a tile on the wall. A secret compartment appeared. A box shot out. Celeste was surprised. Oh, what event is this now? He approached and saw her rummaging for something. He called, but she didn't answer. Bucator. A cannon-like gun was pulled out by Daphne. What's wrong, Celeste? Celeste was surprised, letting out an oh. He still played innocent and asked her, what is that? She answered bluntly, it's a gun, what else? Daphne hugged the gun, remembering that memorable day during a hunt. It was put up as a bet, and I won. She pointed the gun at him. I really wanted to have it. Through the scope, he was being targeted. Celeste smiled faintly. Handsome. She looked at his appearance now in surprise. What is it? A fool with a lot of guts. Our dear prince. He asked scornfully, can you even shoot? She pulled the trigger, cocked, ready to aim. Celeste looked at her, stunned. A loud gunshot rang out. He was stunned, not expecting her to actually shoot. Daphne also looked back calmly. Misa and the others burst through the door. Milady, there was a gunshot. Misa hurriedly asked Milady, are you all right? She calmly gestured around. As you can see, all three were stunned, but this room, why is it? Daphne just said calmly, could you please close the door for me? I have something to discuss with my love. I will help you. Milady, that traitor is. She called, Prince, that's right, the prince is. She frowned, glanced over. TSK. Neris immediately understood. Grab these two men, sorry. I'll take him away right now, sorry. She covered her face. You inconsiderate thing. Neris, you get an extra reward. Daphne turned to deal with Celeste, and now that guy. Huh, where did Celeste go? She looked left and right, searching. What? Where'd he go? In the room, a figure was huddled under a blanket. She frowned and called his name, Prince, but no one answered. Celeste, she still called his name calmly. Inside, Celeste was terrified. He remembered when he was a child, he saw his mother get shot. Blood splattered right before his eyes. Because of that terrifying gun barrel, it had become a frightening memory forever etched in his mind. Daphne moved closer. Celeste, Prince. She gently poked the blanket. Our prince was fine. Why is he like this now? Inside, Celeste had regained his composure. He immediately reached out his arm, then pushed her down onto the bed. She looked up at the man in front of her. He held out the gun and aimed it straight at her. Daphne muttered, how is he so strong? Seeing him trembling, she immediately teased, the bed is still intact. Do you want to sleep with me? Why didn't I notice the signal? How strange. She reminded him again. And Celeste, I told you not to look down on me. That's right. Daphne wasn't scared at all when he pointed the gun straight at her face. Celeste pointed the gun straight up, or should I just kill her? She frowned at him. I thought he would stutter, but it turns out he's more composed than I thought. She looked at the gun barrel and remembered the marks on the painting. That gun had 7 bullets embedded in the portrait. It turns out it was just a scare with an empty magazine. She reached out and pulled the gun closer. If you're going to kill me, do it quickly. She smiled, provoking. Why don't you shoot? Prince, are you scared? Seeing him still silent, she teased him even more. Even you don't know what to do after you kill me, right? Celeste lowered his eyes. I'll ask Seiki for help. Hearing that, she laughed scornfully. Really? Will she help you? Someone as disgusting as you? Celeste was stunned. Moreover, before you can get a Seiki, how will you deal with the conservative faction outside? Even if you can go, what about Romeo? All right, she decided to help pull the trigger. Come on, Celeste, shoot. She even adjusted the barrel to the other side. Daphne even taught him to kill cleanly in one shot. Aiming inside the mouth is most effective. Celeste shouted, you're crazy. Value your life a little. Daphne was indignant. Ah, who are you talking to? Didn't you bet your own precious life to start a rebellion because you wanted to have the heroine? She teased him. So what? I don't think it's bad to die at the hands of the one I love. Celeste's lips moved, but you don't love me. Daphne frowned in confusion. What's wrong? Because of the backlight, I can't see his expression clearly. She sighed. Honestly, I do love you. Just 96 more times and I'll have said it 100 times. Instead, you could shoot another 100 bullets. She was about to put her hand on the trigger. "You're not shooting? Want me to shoot for you?" Suddenly, Daphne laughed scornfully. "Well, it turns out you haven't even put your finger on the trigger? So annoying." Taking the opportunity, she quickly pushed Celeste away. Daphne was still as rough as ever. Finally, the position was reversed. She let out a cold sigh of relief. "Finally, I can see your face clearly." Celeste was uncomfortable. Hey. She frowned and reminded him, "Don't overdo it." Celeste, lying underneath, muttered, "You really are a true madwoman." She was happy that he was scorning her. Daphne reached down, then pressed down on him, calling softly, "Prince, still can't shoot? Looks like you need a little help, huh?" She again helped Celeste raise the gun and aim the barrel at her. Daphne knew Celeste wouldn't shoot her, and even if he did, so what? She didn't care about that. Celeste called softly, "Bucator." Look, because of his long arm advantage, he moved the gun elsewhere. Daphne was now like a child whining for a toy. She screamed, demanding to hold it. "No, I said let me do it for you. Let go of my hand." It was the first time Celeste had been so annoyed. Daphne was also somewhat terrified. "Why are you shouting like that? It's just an empty gun anyway." She still playfully reached for the trigger. Crack! A clear sound echoed. Daphne sat stunned on the ground, holding one cheek. Just now, Celeste also stared blankly at her. Did he just slap me? She sat on the floor, holding her cheek, while Celeste stood frozen, looking at Daphne. He pressed her to charge at someone holding a gun like that. "You've got guts." Daphne asked back, "Did you really just slap me?" The two looked at each other in silence. Celeste did it because he was worried about her. "If I hadn't hit you, the bullet would have gone through your eye." But Daphne asked back in confusion, "Isn't that right? The gun only had 7 bullets to begin with. When fully loaded, it holds 7 bullets. Celeste was stunned. Then he asked again, "This is Neris's gun. How could you not know?" Daphne, still holding her cheek, asked angrily, "How would I know if my butler keeps a fully loaded gun at home?" He was speechless because of the young lady. He almost really died. Daphne sneered, blaming him. "You were the one who pointed a gun at my head, loaded it, and now you're worried?" "That's right. You were the one who pointed a gun at me, intending to kill me. Why do you have such a confused look on your face?" Celeste explained awkwardly, "I didn't intend to use it. I'm the one who's more confused." She was puzzled. Really? What? She hated this look. "Why are you looking at me with such eyes? With a face like that, if you died?" Celeste explained awkwardly. Daphne stood up, dusted off her clothes, and said, "Go on, I'm listening." He was silent for a moment before replying. Seiki would be sad. He answered with his head bowed. She sneered. "I thought." He hesitated for so long for some special reason, but it turns out there was no surprise at all. Looking at him in contemplation, he loves Seiki and perhaps will love her forever. Daphne nodded in agreement. "That's right. How wonderful." But this idea was different from her meaning. It's not surprising, is it? In this story, the prince's great unrequited love. It will never reach anyone but her. Truly perfect. She recalled in the original story, when Seiki and Romeo argued, she questioned him. "Why do you keep treating me like this? What did I do wrong?" He was helping her calm down. "You have to talk to clear up misunderstandings." "Seiki," she kept stopping Romeo. Don't come near me. I have nothing to clear up with you." Recalling it, she found it even more interesting. What a perfect scene. She hates him. She clearly remembered telling Celeste that. She remembered every single word. She wanted him dead more than anyone, and now she's disappointed that he didn't die. Why save him? Why not let him die? But he still loves her. Daphne was contemptuous, an unrequited love, a lingering longing until the end of his life. The man who loves a woman who doesn't love him, and the days full of pain and tears. She thought to herself, those very things will make him more beautiful. My only second male lead. Daphne looked straight ahead and replied, "I came here to enjoy that sight right next to you. That's what she likes best." At this moment, she finally replied to him, "A very good answer, Celeste. The unrequited love that will never be returned of." This fool. Daphne was annoyed. "But anyway, you keep mentioning Seiki, don't you?" Celestin lowered his eyes, sitting obediently and letting her do as she pleased. With a hint of sulkiness in his voice, "You were going to kill me." Daphne, while helping him button his shirt, said, "If you hadn't run away, there would have been no reason to die." Celestin continued, "You held the gun, you pulled the trigger." Daphne didn't need to look to know that the last shot had shattered the window pane. She replied softly, "This way, the view of the Angel River is much clearer now." She patted his chest lightly. "Celeste, I'm very busy. Coming home is exhausting. So be good and stay put. When I'm not home, don't go looking for trouble out of boredom. If you want exercise, go practice dueling. If you want something to eat, ask Neris politely. If you need anything, ask for it kindly." As Daphne spoke, she quickly and deftly began to undress right in front of Celestin. He stared wide-eyed, blushing at Daphne. "Bucator, I understand, but why are you taking off your clothes?" Daphne turned her head to look at Celestin, her face as cold as before, her voice completely calm. Huh. In complete contrast to Daphne, Celestin covered his eyes tightly and screamed, "Why are you taking off your clothes?" Daphne was a little surprised by his reaction. Her mouth agape. What is this reaction? What are you saying? I'm taking my clothes off in my own room? She turned completely around, then looked at Celestin and smiled. I'm wearing an undergarment. Hearing this, Celestin flinched again. No matter how Daphne explained, he still couldn't accept her overly natural behavior. He shouted again, "Why are you taking off your clothes?" Seeing him shouting at her while covering his eyes tightly made Daphne stare wide-eyed. Am I not allowed to take my clothes off in my own bedroom? She pointed towards the broken window frame. Look outside. It's dark. It's time to sleep. Celestin was stunned. He slowly removed his hands and looked up at Daphne, his innocent eyes paired with a question that didn't suit him at all. Are you going to sleep with me? Daphne lost her composure and blatantly criticized Celestin. Were you shot in the head? She quickly put on her nightgown, then laughed with amusement. Why have you been asking to sleep together since last time? Trying to seduce me, while your heart is elsewhere. Celestin covered his eyes tightly again, refuting what she had just said. That's not it. Daphne turned her head in surprise to look at him. What? Celestin was silent for a moment. He took a deep breath before daring to say, I'm not seducing you. However, Daphne didn't seem to trust this clarification very much. Is that so? It must be. She put both hands in her robe pockets. What a pity. If you were really trying to seduce me, I would have given you a reward. As she was about to say more, she suddenly discovered something inside. Huh. Daphne quickly realized it was a rather delicate glove inside. Daphne took the glove out of her pocket, thinking to herself, my glove, he still kept it? I lied and said it was Seiki's. While she was lost in thought, Celestin suddenly interrupted. How long are you going to be undressing? Daphne looked at him and said, I'm dressed. Open your eyes. Why are you acting like someone who's just been assaulted? Celestin looked at her with a resentful gaze. He frankly criticized Daphne. You're so disrespectful. Daphne didn't bother getting angry with him. She quickly threw the criticism back at him, and the prince is seriously lacking in courtesy. After saying that, she threw the glove hard at Celestin and ordered him, shut up, hug your love strawberry, and go to sleep. I'm leaving. Being hit in the head so unexpectedly, Celestin was a little startled. Ugh. He took the glove and listened to Daphne's instructions. I'll be even busier tomorrow, so please be good and stay put. Don't cause any more trouble. I'm leaving. Celestin remained silent. He slowly raised his head to watch her figure disappear into the distance. Misa suddenly appeared in front of Daphne. He asked her, is the Duke an Arab? Daphne crossed her arms and answered casually, he's a religious person. Misa continued to question her. Does he cover his face? No, he just touched my face, so why didn't he kill me? He kept asking, but Daphne didn't bother to answer. So he was talking to himself, which is why Misa complained with dissatisfaction. You don't act like a young lady at all. Daphne smirked. She boasted to Misa, didn't you see yesterday? That's love. Misa frowned, his eyes wide as he replied with a single sound, ah. Daphne looked at him for a moment, then sighed with concern. Misa, why do you look so upset? Misa brazenly closed his eyes as if nothing was wrong and replied, You're mistaken. Today's party is on the second floor. Daphne looked back at him, stunned, her beautiful eyes wide. The second floor? Misa quickly replied, Yes, on the left balcony. Daphne still couldn't seem to believe she had been tricked. Wait, is it really the second floor? Misa nodded and replied, Yes, the second floor. Daphne's face was full of worry and confusion. Am I really sitting on the second floor? Once inside the party hall, she still couldn't believe what she had just heard from Misa. Why? I was supposed to sit next to Stella. Misa patiently explained to her, Today is Lady Seiki's seat. This is an engagement party. Now, thanks to Misa's persuasion, Daphne truly believed it. She flared up, ah. Someone with no value on the marriage market has no place, so get lost. Misa laughed, pointed in a direction, and told Daphne, you sit over here. Daphne thought to herself, anyway, at this kind of party, it's understandable for the host to sit next to the main character. It feels like being pushed completely backstage. Stella, both a peer and a good business partner, and now she betrays me like this? Besides, Stella's whiskey and champagne are excellent. I was planning to take a case home to drink with the maids tonight. Daphne felt sorry for her own bleak fate. She raised the wine glass in her hand and drained it. Cough, cough. She suddenly heard Misa say, My lady, it seems His Highness the Crown Prince has also arrived. Daphne looked in that direction with a hateful gaze. Our male lead, not dead, and even came back. The words she just uttered sent a chill down Misa's spine. He quickly reminded her, My lady, many people can hear, so be careful with your words. Daphne stepped forward and handed her empty wine glass to a servant. She thought to herself, I heard he just returned from being a special envoy. In Herban, I just want to catch that guy and throw him in prison. Daphne arrogantly crossed her arms and told Misa, cut off transactions with Farron starting next quarter. Misa was startled. He replied to her, this is a bit sudden. Daphne turned away without looking at Misa anymore. This wine no longer tastes of grapes, but has a sour taste. It must have lost its heart. Misa was surprised by this. He naively looked at the wine glass in his hand. Strange, it still tastes as good as before to me. Daphne said to him again, anyway, Misa, go say hello for me. Misa quickly understood the meaning in his mistress's last sentence, looking down from the tall building. Both of them immediately recognized Romeo. Daphne was a little annoyed. Admittedly, his physique is really good. She silently watched the lovebirds walking side by side. The two were laughing and talking about something very happily. Daphne had a strange thought. Psyche, so beautiful. She caught a glimpse of Psyche looking around as if searching for someone from above. Daphne thought to herself, I didn't buy that dress. Are 12 dresses still not enough? Psyche suddenly looked up at the second floor. Now their eyes met. Daphne quickly flashed a manufactured smile and waved at Psyche. Looking for me, right? Suddenly Psyche turned away sharply without looking at her anymore. Daphne was utterly bewildered. What? That's a protest, isn't it? It seems she was looking for me, but she doesn't seem happy that I didn't contact her. We'll meet eventually anyway. Why do that? It's a waste of paper and effort. From above, she saw Psyche hiding behind Romeo to avoid her. She leaned her hands on the staircase railing, thinking with amusement, so you're playing that game now? Let's see how long you can ignore me. 1 hour later. Unexpectedly, the one being ignored was the one who went crazy with anger first. Daphne was furious, her whole body trembling. Her smile looked like a grimace. She didn't look back at me once, and then she went with Stella. Where's Misa? The smile on her lips vanished. Daphne thought irritably, it's only been a few days since we picked out a dress, and I'm already being treated like this. Nothing is going smoothly. I'll just make an excuse that I'm not feeling well and leave early. She faintly heard footsteps behind her, so Daphne immediately thought of her secretary. Misa, why did you leave your mistress all alone like this? Should I make him work overtime without pay? As she tried to step back, she accidentally stepped on the foot of the person behind her. Daphne jumped, so startled that she swore. Whoa, damn it. The person behind her burst out laughing. What? Damn it. What kind of curse is that? Daphne's mouth fell open in astonishment at the man's unexpected action of wrapping his arm around her waist. Now she recognized the man in the light. It was Romeo. He asked her, where did you learn such words? Daphne looked at him with a hostile gaze. Stop it, you damn bastard. Although he was suddenly cursed at by a beautiful girl like this, Romeo still smiled cheerfully. Long time no see, my little sister. Daphne was held so tightly by him that she couldn't move for a moment. She could only threaten him with hurtful words. My little sister? What? This madman is really crazy. Romeo continued, I miss you. Daphne irritably criticized him. Did you get shot in the head? Romeo wasn't angry. Instead, he laughed with amusement. Cousin, you want to keep your distance now? That really saddens me. Daphne quickly spoke some sharp words to Romeo. Wow, I'm honestly not the least bit happy to see you again. Have you been drinking? She glanced away, thinking to herself, crazy bastard, what's wrong with him all of a sudden? The smile on Romeo's lips vanished when he heard her seriously call his name. Romeo Alexio Isu Ins Rodrigue, Your Highness the Crown Prince. Let go. There are many people watching here. Romeo smiled slyly. This is a hidden corner. No one will notice. He wouldn't listen to reason, so Daphne had to resort to physical action. Why is this happening? Didn't we say we wouldn't see each other again? Romeo sighed that I wanted that too. Then he suddenly brought his face close to hers. Daphne dodged with a curse. Crazy. Romeo's face darkened. He said to her in a serious tone while I was away. You've caused some interesting trouble, Daphne Serenet Bucator. Daphne, without any hesitation, brazenly used a resounding slap to subdue him. Romeo was stunned. He obviously didn't expect her to do that. He turned his head back to look at her. How annoying. Daphne shouted in frustration. That's ridiculous. You hugged me first, and now you're acting all high and mighty. Romeo adjusted his clothes. He asked her, since when did you buy the duchy's newspaper? Daphne cursed silently in her head, getting straight to the point. What a bastard. She was trying to keep her distance from Romeo. Is there anything money can't buy? I even bought a B-list women's magazine. The sympathetic words, embellished so beautifully. You must have seen them all. right? Now Celestin can use the title of Grand Duke of Thuriosa to live peacefully anywhere. Romeo's thick eyebrows furrowed tightly. He gritted his teeth and hissed out each word. The Bucator of Socratian saved the traitor Celestin through love? Daphne provoked him. You know everything, but pretend not to. Romeo told her the truth, because I didn't expect it to be true. Seeing him about to approach her, Daphne instinctively stepped back. Oh, I also didn't think you were so sincere with Psyche like that. Romeo was still a step faster than her. He gently squeezed her cheeks. Daphne let him do as he pleased. She still used her words to provoke him. Besides, our plan included sparing Celestin, didn't it? Romeo smiled cheerfully and replied, that was before he betrayed us. Daphne slapped his hand away from her face. What's there to worry about? I've already cut off all his limbs. She thought to herself, from the families involved in the rebellion to everyone connected to Celestin, I dug them all up, published everything in the papers, and even erased some names from history. Is that enough? Suddenly Romeo spoke. Just my type of hobby. Daphne's face went blank. She asked him in surprise. What hobby? Romeo crossed his arms. He laughed out loud, teasing her. What did you cut them with? Can I drop by to see? Daphne complained, pouting her lips and puffing her cheeks. I didn't actually cut off his limbs. You madman, you're forbidden from coming within a 100 kilometers radius of my house. Romeo quickly commented, what a pity, right? I thought I'd get to admire my brother's well-preserved limbs. Daphne was obviously not very interested in his ill-intentioned jokes. After treating him like that, you still call him brother? You're really something else. Romeo tilted his head, looking at her thoughtfully. Calling him a traitor is a waste of breath. How about calling him an idiot? Daphne couldn't laugh anymore. His question kept circling in her head. Idiot. She suddenly flinched at the thought. Idiot. No, he really is a foolish prince. I can't argue with that. Anyway, there's no one left around him now. Don't worry. Romeo was a little suspicious of this information. There's no one left around him? Daphne put her hands on her hips. She said arrogantly, yeah, I took care of them all. Romeo pretended to think for a moment. Then he suddenly burst out laughing. Daphne asked him in confusion, what are you laughing at? Romeo turned his head to look at her and said, it's just that our relatives always act like they know the outcome, but they always take the long way around. Daphne tilted her head, looking at him in confusion. A lot of interesting ideas were popping in her head right now. How can he say something like that? A series of keywords appeared in her mind. These are the keywords that describe Romeo in the original story. Romeo continued, we really are relatives, especially similar in those aspects. Daphne cut him off irritably. What nonsense are you talking about? Romeo moved closer to her beautiful face. It's like looking in a mirror, cousin. Daphne thoughtfully explained her thoughts to him. I really don't understand what nonsense you're spouting. Romeo suddenly glared at her. It gave Daphne goosebumps. It's horrible. Stop looking. I hate your eyes the most. Romeo brazenly took it as a compliment from her. Thank you. I hate your red hair just as much. Daphne also took the opportunity to use his own line. Thanks for the compliment. Anyway, don't touch the prince anymore. He's mine. Hearing this, Romeo's eyes dimmed slightly. He asked Daphne, since when did you like him? I don't understand. Selling a mine to buy foreign newspapers, preventing the annihilation of a family, and even forging evidence so dedicated. Daphne leaned against the staircase and replied, what's it to you? Romeo ran a hand through his hair. Although he was a bit tired, he continued to talk to her. Cousin, anyway, those things needed to be done, so I don't blame you. But when are you going to make up with my wife? Daphne was startled, and her hand leaning on the staircase slipped. The fire of anger flared up inside her. Did you just say my wife? Good heavens, you two aren't even married yet. Who gave you permission to call her that? Oh my God, it's horrible. Since when did you become the type who doesn't dare to talk back to Psyche? If Psyche told you to give up, would you? Really give up? I've never argued with a dog, but today I might have to. She dared to move my seat to the second floor. Romeo explained to her, I asked Stella to do it. Don't misunderstand. Daphne's mouth fell open in astonishment. What? Romeo gave a sinister smile. I miss you. Suddenly Daphne screamed, your dimple is disgusting. Romeo was even more amused by her cute reaction. For our secret meeting, Daphne risked her life to stop you. Don't attach that disgusting word to it. Because of you, I'm willing to argue with Stella. Romeo laughed. Oh, that must be a lot of fun. Today was truly a horrifying party for Daphne. If killing a royal wasn't a capital crime, I would have punched that face a few times already. She glared and said, Your Highness, let's put ranks aside and have a duel. I'll choose the event. Romeo was grabbed tightly by the collar, making it difficult for him to move, while Daphne was so angry her whole body trembled. To kill or not, to hit, to beat. Romeo called her name Daphne, and just like that, she immediately reacted in self-defense. Don't call my name anymore. Oh my God, I'm getting goosebumps. Romeo, encouraged, pressed on, calling her name several times in a row. Daphne, Daphne, Daphne. Daphne couldn't take it anymore. She screamed in his face, "Why are you doing this? It's so scary." She turned sharply and walked away. "You madman. If you have nothing to say, I'm leaving." Romeo suddenly told her something completely unrelated. "I've only been at the palace for 2 days. Daphne replied irritably, "Then don't ever come again. Seiki is the one who can take care of you." Romeo continued, "Do you know what the first thing my wife did when she saw me was?" Daphne raised her finger and said, "If you want to piss me off, transfer the money first, then talk." Romeo continued, even though she was displeased with him, "It wasn't a kiss, nor was it saying I missed you." Daphne cursed wildly. Who gives a damn? However, Romeo's few concise words were enough to make Daphne stop in her tracks. "It was about you." Daphne turned her head back. She asked seriously, "Did she speak ill of me?" In the magnificent castle, someone's soft moan could be heard. Ugh. The person lay on a large bed, moaning incessantly. Ugh, ugh, ugh. It was Celestin, his entire face flushed red. Even something as simple as breathing became difficult for him, and immediately he heard a familiar voice greeting him. "Hello, Prince." The scene in his head now was of black crows filling the sky. Cruel tortures, harsh sunlight, blurred vision, all sounds becoming distant. Unable to resist, I tried to stand straight. It was difficult to utter a single word. Could this be death? Just as I thought my boring life would end like this, a hand reached out. Brilliant red hair. At that moment, he had to look up, burning hot, like the merciless sun. The northern aurora, mine. For a very long time, Daphne's radiant figure lingered in Celestin's mind. There was only one person with hair as fiery red as that. To say I wasn't afraid would be a lie, because the reputation attached to her was too dazzling. A person blinded by money, of terrible quality, and who schemed to seize the crown prince, her own cousin, to become queen, the wicked woman full of rumors. A blood-soaked monster with a vicious gaze, but this time, something was different from the previous life. His whole body burned like fire. He panted endlessly. Ugh, huff. Suddenly, a cold hand lightly touched Celestin's sweaty cheek. It was Daphne. She had returned home from the banquet. Daphne was a little surprised by his current condition. She quickly soaked a towel in warm water and carefully wiped the sweat from his forehead. After everything was done, Daphne sat quietly watching the handsome man sleep soundly. Celestin was delirious with fever. Everything felt strange. What I was familiar with was contempt. Cold golden eyes that looked at me as if I were an insect. A cold face devoid of any affection. For me, those things were all gone now, as if I was mistaken, thinking I had returned to the past. He slowly opened his eyes. Celestin heard Daphne's concerned voice. "Prince, are you awake? Are you still in a lot of pain?" Just like that. He couldn't believe his ears. He let her talk to herself. "You still have a fever." As soon as she placed her hand on his forehead, Celestin closed his eyes tightly. He unconsciously felt comfortable, so cool. He vaguely saw Daphne's figure. He heard Daphne's voice again. "The prince can't die." Celestin thought to himself, before she said that even if I died, this body would belong to her. After bringing me here, she treated me like an inferior, insulted me, and even hit me, but when I got angry, she used submissive words. Daphne, not seeing his reaction, checked her own temperature, or maybe the fever hasn't broken yet. She suddenly bent down close to him. Celestin smiled to himself, and sometimes she talks about love, accompanied by words embellished with sincerity. At first, I thought it was genuine, but now I know it's just a clumsy lie. Daphne was very confused. She muttered to herself, "But the fever has gone down a lot. You should sleep a little more, Prince." Celestin just stared at Daphne like that, those lies without a shred of sincerity. He opened his eyes wide after Daphne had left. Celestin sat up wearily. I realized it all a long time ago. "Daphne." He looked towards the chair where she had been sitting. Before, Celestin was a little taken aback. "She's gone?" He lowered his eyes, looking somewhat disappointed. He thought to himself, was it really just a dream? He gently got out of bed. Celestin seemed to want to go somewhere. He walked to the middle of the room, where the sunlight was still very bright. He stopped by the chair where Daphne had sat earlier. He thought to himself, the chair next to the bed, she sat here? He looked up towards somewhere in the distance. Outside the window was the bright evening glow. The river reflected that sparkling light, so beautiful. Celestin silently called its name, Angel River. On this river, names are carved: Rodrigue, Andy Wynne, Winphone, Galahad, Baldwin, Chadwick, Hinta, Julius Green. Those who led Theriota down the path of sin, the targets of revenge I once swore to deal with. Now, it's all meaningless because this time I've decided to stand still. It's just that what I'm curious about is, Daphne Bucator's attitude has changed astonishingly. He remembered Daphne's openness with him these past few days. Celeste, Seiki hugged me today. It's as if Seiki's warmth still lingers in my arms. Celeste, want to try hugging? Celestin thought to himself, I've never seen Daphne like this before. Thinking of this, he suddenly threw his head back and laughed because he covered his mouth and kept laughing. Ha 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 ha. What's wrong with me all of a sudden? I don't understand anything. It's all incomprehensible mumbling. But I remember the time when we were so close. Should I pretend to love Seiki Denver? He put his hand in his pocket to take something out. His gaze on it was incredibly gentle. It was the glove that Daphne had casually thrown to him. Celestin smiled. Those hands. I can never hold those hands for fear of becoming like him, for fear of being rejected by you. It's as if this is the only limit I'm allowed to approach. It seems all the letters I sent never reached the recipient. But even so, I still feel content. Just watching from a distance is enough to make me feel happy. I don't know if this is an opportunity or a deception, but if you want it that way, I am willing to do it, even if I have to love someone else, as long as I could be by your side. Meanwhile, on Daphne's side, she wondered, why hasn't she arrived yet? Am I like a foolish child left behind by her mother, who went to work? At that moment, there was the sound of running footsteps, and Daphne immediately realized she's here. Seeing her staggering, Daphne thought to herself, someone who can't drink alcohol came here too. She kept calling, Daphne, Theriota. Daphne was confused, not knowing what to do with this drunken state of Seiki. Holding Seiki, she asked, are you drunk? Why Daphne Theriota? Seiki looked up at her, her cheeks flushed and her eyes holding a hint of grievance. Seiki buried her face in Daphne's chest without saying anything. Daphne exclaimed in alarm, what a waste, the lipstick is smudged. Only then did Seiki slowly react. Daphne, yes. The one being hugged felt her life was in danger. She thought to herself, this feeling is not good at all. Go to sleep, go to sleep. Then she suddenly heard Seiki's mournful voice. Why? Why Theriota? Even though she was so drunk, she was no longer lucid. However, Seiki was as beautiful as ever. This beauty made Daphne's heart skip a beat. Oh God, are you trying to expel a false believer like me? Yet Daphne still tried to act normal. Yes, Seiki mournfully reproached Daphne. Why, Daphne? You once said you liked my husband, so why have you switched to liking him now? Daphne was flustered by that question. This person just said my husband without realizing there was anything strange. She really wanted to explain, I originally. Daphne knew she had blurted out some strange words. She covered her mouth. What was I about to say? Originally, Seiki raised her head, wanted to say something to her. Seiki took both of her hands. Daphne, do you want to become royalty? Daphne exclaimed in surprise, heavens, definitely not. Seiki continued to ask, if not, do you still hate me? Daphne quickly explained to her, what? Not at all. Seiki was very resentful. She blurted out to Daphne, if that's not it either, then why him? Since when? It's absurd. Daphne calmly helped Seiki sit down on the chair. Sit down first. Seiki still couldn't stop wondering, why does it have to be him? Daphne, why does it have to be him? Out of so many people, Daphne was not at all angry with the series of questions. She patiently explained, This is the world of a novel. You're the female lead. I was reincarnated in this novel with memories from my past life. To be precise, I've loved Celestin since my past life. Her eyes softened. I've loved him since before. If I said it, I would definitely be sent to a mental hospital. You don't like me loving the prince? Seiki frankly admitted, yes, I hate it. Daphne smiled. Why? Why do you hate seals so much? Seiki was startled and lunged forward. Daphne, you call him Seals? Daphne calmly repeated the question. It's a nickname. I asked why you hate him. Was he your ex-lover before? That question affected Seiki's gaze. Daphne felt uneasy. Are those eyes cursing me? Seiki's voice trembled as she spoke. Daphne, you don't know, but he's truly terrible. Daphne asked her again, how is he terrible? Seiki recalled painfully. He kills innocent people with ease, wipes out entire families, schemes to frame others, uses weaknesses to manipulate, and lives a life full of plots. The worst part is he doesn't get his own hands dirty. Daphne was quite surprised to see this reaction from her. Is Seiki now bad-mouthing others too? Seiki seemed to want to explain with her life on the line. Daphne, he was the only survivor in the trial, and in the end, he got away like that. More importantly, he wants. Daphne cut her off. Seiki, just consider him dead. If you read the papers, you should know I personally eliminated all of his rebellious henchmen. Power needs money and supporters. Without those two things, it's no different from being dead. Seiki was momentarily confused upon hearing that. However, right after that she screamed, "But in your own room, I saw him alive and well." Daphne laughed cheerfully. "You want me to kill the person I love?" Seiki yelled at her. "There's no shortage of men in this world. There's definitely someone more suitable for you than him." Daphne said, startling Seiki. "Those words, I think I've said them to you before." A memory flashed by. At that time, she had really tried to stop the love between Seiki and Romeo. "Break up. He once burned my hair, deliberately gave me the wrong address to embarrass me. He even sent a box full of fish as a birthday gift." At that time, Seiki felt her words were a bit too harsh. So why did Daphne want to marry Romeo? Seiki trembled. "So, what do you like about him?" Daphne was surprised by this question. How should I put it?" Seiki suddenly asked her. "Because he's handsome." Daphne immediately seized it as her answer. "Let's just say that." "All right, I hate seeing you cry the most." "Seiki," the girl Seiki shook her head. "I'm not crying. Why don't you understand my heart? Furiosa, his appearance and his nature are completely different. Daphne, I'm worried you'll get hurt. That's what I'm worried about." Daphne thought to herself, "It seems she believes I'll love Celestin for the rest of my life." Yes, I know, and that's what I want too." Seiki said to Daphne, "When I heard he wasn't dead, if Daphne could understand even a little of my feelings." Daphne told her again, "Seiki, you know it too? I get bored easily, then everything will end." Seiki replied, "I know that." She bowed her head, thinking about something, then looked up again and said, "But sometimes, Daphne, you say the exact same things as Romeo." That sentence was like a knife stabbing straight into Daphne's heart. She felt even more pain when she heard Seiki say, "Daphne is just like Romeo." Daphne's face turned pale. "Please, don't say things like that anymore." Seiki continued speaking, ignoring her words. "No, it's really exactly the same, really." Daphne was stunned. "This is the worst insult I've ever heard." Seiki continued to stab her heart. "I'm not kidding. Completely alike, like spiritual twins." Daphne tremblingly called her Seiki. Seiki continued her story. "Romeo also said he was bored of me, but when I disappeared, he destroyed Daphne's flower garden." Daphne added, "My head was almost destroyed too." Seiki said emotionally, "He once said he wouldn't love me for a lifetime." Daphne was fed up, and then he knelt down and begged, "Please love me. I'm truly speechless." Seiki opened her heart to Daphne. Daphne also said she hated me enough to want to kill me, but now she likes me. Daphne crossed her arms and thought silently. "I might have been a bit harsh, but I never hated her enough to want to kill her. I just found her annoying." "Well, what is she going to say now?" "All right, make it short." "What now?" Seiki exclaimed. "See, just like Romeo." Daphne was a little annoyed. "He still treats you like that?" Seiki sighed. "No, he's very obedient now." Daphne nodded. "Is that so? If you tell him to kneel, he kneels, right?" Seiki said, but now Daphne isn't listening. "Will you bring Furiosa to my wedding?" Daphne asked in surprise. "A wedding?" "A wedding on a luxurious cruise ship. Only special guests are allowed into the first-class area. And finally, at the aisle leading to the ceremony, Daphne will see Seiki holding another man's hand. The defeated one completely collapses. Celestin Furiosa, that's his name. Daphne was overjoyed. "Can I bring him?" However, the answer she received was no. Daphne was very dissatisfied. "What? Then why ask?" Seiki quickly changed the subject. "That love, when will you get tired of it?" Daphne couldn't react in time. Seiki asked again, "When are you going to leave him? In a week or a year?" Daphne's mind was full of ellipses. "Seiki, ask one question at a time. You're interrogating me." Seiki laughed. "You'll get bored eventually. You said you would. So when will you get bored?" Seiki's serious demeanor startled Daphne. Seiki moved closer to Daphne and said, "It will be soon. You'll get bored. You said so. When will that time come?" Hearing such a question, Daphne thought to herself, "What a strange question." Seeing her not answer, Seiki leaned in and continued. "Forgive me for asking this, but now, when I think of Daphne, I can't help but think of that person. It feels like the burden in my heart is growing." Daphne asked, confused, "A burden?" Seiki frowned seriously and said, "I feel uneasy not hating the person that Daphne loves." Daphne was stunned by this statement. She thought to herself, "I used to think she couldn't even kill an ant. But now if she held a knife, she could probably kill Celestin immediately." After a moment she spoke, "If I don't think about it." But then she gave an awkward laugh. Never mind, she thought, "Anyway, I can't not hate him." Thinking of that bloody image, she became pensive. "How can I forgive the one who killed my family just to win my affection, especially when my best friend is putting all her effort into protecting him out of love?" Then she turned and said, "Seiki, you have a right to hate and despise him." Seiki asked wonderingly, "Even if he's the person Daphne loves?" Daphne replied, as long as Romeo is by your side and I am by his, he will never be able to harm you again. Daphne smiled cheerfully and thought to herself, then he will suffer even more watching Seiki from afar, right? Sounds interesting. At this moment, Celestin felt a chill down his spine for some reason. After thinking for a moment, Seiki said, Daphne must also be by my side. Daphne smiled brightly and replied, that's a given. Seiki hastily explained, I wish Daphne would get bored of him soon. Daphne cheerfully said, he's too handsome to be dumped immediately. Please understand. She began to lose patience, thinking to herself, I'm starting to get annoyed. I'm at my limit. He's here just in time. Daphne turned to see who had arrived and saw Romeo approaching with a slight smile on his lips. She rolled her eyes in disgust. Beside her, Seiki was extremely happy, waving and greeting Romeo. Thanks to you, I was able to talk to her. Daphne lamented, what a nuisance, as Seiki was about to take Romeo's hand to get out of the carriage. She turned her head and said seriously to Daphne, but don't come with him on my wedding day. Daphne smiled, her eyes a little dark, and didn't answer. She thought to herself, I'm not sure if I can do that. Wouldn't it be interesting if we came together? After getting out of the carriage, Seiki, in Romeo's arms, called out, Daphne. Daphne quickly replied, yes. Seiki said caringly, it's late. Why don't you stay here overnight? This palace has many rooms. Hearing this, Romeo's face darkened as he whispered, this is my palace. Seiki, oblivious, her eyes sparkling with anticipation, said, stay, please. Seeing this scene, Daphne thought to herself, look behind you. Your husband is making a face that says he's going to kick me out. Then she smiled lightly and said, Seiki, he just said he wanted to cut my hair to give to you. Seiki looked at Romeo in disbelief and asked, what? Why Daphne's hair? Romeo, did you really say that? Seeing her so innocent, Daphne continued, yeah, it's not too bad. Seeing things are going a bit too far, Romeo finally spoke up, cousin, stop talking nonsense and get lost. Daphne ignored him. She waved and smiled. Seiki, sleep well. Seiki replied happily, you too, Daphne, sleep well. Then she closed the carriage door and knocked on it to signal that the carriage could move. Hearing the signal, the carriage quickly sped off. Caught unprepared, Daphne fell onto the seat. She shouted, that damn crown prince. Why keep this old carriage when you have a steam car? She put her hand to her forehead and sighed, this feeling of motion sickness. Thinking about what Seiki had just said, she thought to herself, does she hate Celestin that much? A feeling of sadness in her heart, unwanted kindness. If I were in that situation, maybe I would be the same. She sighed helplessly and said, being harassed so much, it's so tiring. At this moment, in the room, Celestin was lying with his eyes closed, asleep. Daphne entered and was about to raise her hand to touch his face, but before she could, he quickly blocked her hand. Daphne let out a cry and said, your reaction is too slow. Prince, you should have woken up the moment I opened the door. What if I were an assassin? Celestin said something unrelated, scent. Daphne asked, confused, scent? With no intention of explaining further, he replied, it's nothing. Daphne lifted her sleeve to smell it, thinking to herself, I just took a bath. Is it because I used the same bathwater as Seiki? After thinking, she asked him, don't tell me you thought I was Seiki? This question made him, who was drinking water, pause. Seeing him like that, she thought to herself, Moon, let's see, am I right? When did he smell Seiki's scent? Pervert, I like that. She reached out and turned on the bedside lamp, continuing, anyway. Then, but before she could finish, seeing him staring at her so intently, she thought to herself, I've never met him at this hour because I'm usually asleep by 10. She beckoned him closer, Celeste. Celestin sighed reluctantly, but also moved closer to her. Daphne placed her hand on his forehead and asked, what about the medicine? Celestin quickly replied, I took it. She asked again, what about dinner? He obediently replied, not yet. Daphne, still with her hand on his forehead, asked wonderingly, aren't you hungry? He didn't answer but asked back, did you take a cold bath? Hearing him ask that, Daphne said, confused, I asked if you were hungry. Why are you talking about cold water? No, why? Celestin replied, your hand is so cold. Daphne gently lowered her hand and replied, I have cold hands and feet. My hands and feet are both cold. Celestin was a little surprised and said, is that so? How strange. He moved closer, resting his forehead against hers, and continued, in my dream, it seemed a little warmer. Seeing Celestin's face at such a close distance, Daphne was a bit surprised, her eyes wide. She quickly pushed him away and said, seeing you jumping around like this, it seems you've recovered. Huh? He just smiled lightly and replied, your room is quite beautiful. Thanks to whom? Daphne quickly said, this isn't my room. Celestin asked wonderingly, then whose room is it? Daphne smiled brightly and introduced, This is the prince's room that I prepared for you to stay in. Saying this, her face darkened as she thought to herself, saying it like that probably makes me look crazy. But if I had known he would wreck my room like this, I should have locked him in here from the start. Celestin lifted the blanket, about to stand up, and asked She didn't answer, just stared at him intently, thinking to herself, should I get a little revenge? Then Daphne suddenly spoke up, this is my husband's room. Celestin was extremely shocked and asked again, you have a husband? He just whispered, surprising. Hearing him ask that, she replied sadly yes. After a moment of confusion, he said, I've never heard anything about that. Daphne replied nonchalantly, of course, because he's not here. Celestin wondered, then where is he? Seeing him getting drawn into the story, she laughed inwardly. He actually believes it. So funny. She was trying her best to hold back her laughter, but on the outside, she was still pretending to be sad, saying, he died trying to save me. Celestin was endlessly shocked, his eyes wide as he looked at her. Seeing his expression, Daphne clutched her stomach and burst out laughing, saying with amusement, you really believe that? Why are you so naive? Oh, my stomach hurts. Laughing so much made her tear up. She looked at him and continued, this made-up story seems quite convincing. Or is it because my acting is good? Oh, I'm crying from laughing too much. Recalling her own sorrowful storytelling just now. I'm married in secret because there were too many bad rumors about me. My husband's clothes are still in the closet. I can't throw them away. It was a sudden car accident. He saved me and then passed away alone if I hadn't asked him out that day. It's all my fault. Now it was all a lie. At this moment, she was still looking at him, laughing nonstop, saying, how can you be so naive, Prince? Celestin frowned angrily and asked, do you find that joke funny? Hearing that, Daphne thought to herself, of course, look at your reaction. On the outside, she gradually stopped laughing and said coaxingly, is our prince angry? Don't bite your lip, okay? She raised her hand to touch his lips and said gently, if your lip gets torn, I won't be responsible. Her action was like what she did with her girlfriends without thinking. Seeing he didn't react, she shyly moved away and said, my goodness, our prince is so naive to believe things like this. Celestin sighed and turned away, replying, there's nothing unbelievable about it, because it's what you said. Looking at him like that, she immediately guessed, look, being sick has made him suddenly so obedient. What strange things he's saying. At this moment, he spoke again, really why lie? How strange. Looking at his expression, she thought to herself, his face is so strange. I feel a little guilty. Then Daphne spoke up, because of your expression, but it was interesting. Celestin turned back to look at her and said, interesting? She inwardly exclaimed, so difficult. Seeing he was unhappy, she replied, well then, that's a pity. Seeing him still unhappily staring at her, she coughed shyly and said, why do you keep looking at me like that? It's so embarrassing. Anyway, Seals, tomorrow we'll go to a concert and then attend a party. Celestin, confused, rested his chin on his hand and asked, you can still ask me on a date after upsetting me like this. Daphne thought to herself, a date? She quickly spoke up, what date? I was just talking about my schedule. Celestin asked in surprise, Then he sadly turned away and continued, fine, you can go alone. Daphne asked, confused, why should I go alone? I want you to come with me. She looked at him with a bright smile, thinking to herself, a handsome and gentle guy like this just looking at me and getting angry. I love it. It's like I'm winning, but what does he plan to do by calling his collection of trash? Now Celestin has his current position in the country, the trash that everyone wants to get rid of, while Daphne has the nickname of social trash. The more she thought, the more confused she became, wondering, I don't understand what Romeo is plotting anymore. Honestly, I didn't intend to take him to show off. Seeing her lost in thought, Celestin spoke softly, I'm just your slave. Daphne asked in surprise, slave. Seeing her like that, he became even more upset and said, or a sleeping doll. Hearing him say that, she smiled on the outside but thought the opposite. If you want your ears cut off, just keep talking. Daphne thought to herself, he's getting cocky after recovering a little. She raised her hand to rub her temples and continued to think, anyway, I'm so tired, I'm at my limit. Daphne quickly stood up and said, I'm going to bed first. Ghost Duke, remember to wake up before noon. As she was about to open the door to leave, Daphne turned her head and continued, that's right, Before she could finish her sentence, Celestin had quickly come to stand behind her, blocking the door. He asked, "Where are you going?" not paying attention to what he said. She looked at the magnified image of his chest muscles in front of her and thought to herself, the chest is speaking. Daphne cried out, "Oh my." Then she thought to herself, "No, that's not it. I didn't hear any footsteps, nor did I hear the sound of a chair being pulled." Celestin at this moment stared at her and asked, "Going to sleep? Where?" Daphne replied tentatively, "My room." She looked behind him and continued, "No, but how did you get here so fast? Did you fly? You keep being called an angel, so you grew real wings. It should be at least 15 steps. Seeing her smile, he replied cheerfully, "I'm a ghost." His arm was still on the door, not letting her out, and he asked again, "Sleeping where?" After a moment, Daphne spoke up, "Prince, my house has many rooms. I don't have to sleep in your princess bed." Celestin disagreed, saying, "But I let you sleep there. It's suitable." Celestin called, "Bucator." She looked up at him wonderingly and asked what. Without answering, he quickly rested his forehead gently against hers. The scent from his body wafted to the tip of her nose. She thought to herself, "This scent is so familiar. Is it my perfume?" Neris went crazy over it. Celestin looked at her with affection. He playfully toyed with her soft hair and said, "Sleep here. Sleep with me." Daphne was a little startled, thinking, "Wait a minute, this?" Cutting off her thoughts, he continued, "You want as well." Daphne was confused. She asked herself, is he seducing me? No way. Am I being seduced by my idol? Oh my God, so sexy. Her heart was beating wildly in her chest. Daphne looked at Celestin's face and blushed, thinking to herself, just breathing is enough to draw attention to that face. If you use that face at 120% like this thing, you so much. In Daphne's eyes, there was no need to think much to know why. This approach was not unfamiliar, despite being rumored to be social trash. But she was very generous with those who belonged to her, born into a wealthy, noble family, but didn't care about background when making friends. The rumor was that if you were friends with Daphne, she would protect you anytime, famous among the nouveau riche. Men and women both approach her like this, to gain money, power, or even love and power. He's just like them. She looked at him, smiled, and continued to think, he must be planning to use me to get close to Seiki. Thinking of the image of Seiki being cherished in Celestin's arms, confessing, "Only you, Seiki, no one but you," and Seiki happily replying, "Without Daphne, you would never have understood my heart in this lifetime." For words appeared in her mind, love story of the century. Thinking of this, she couldn't help but laugh. Celestin didn't understand and asked, "Bucator, are you crazy?" Not replying to him, she thought to herself, "I can't get involved in such foolish things." Daphne pushed him away and said, "Not crazy. I'm leaving, good night." Not letting her go, Celestin quickly grabbed a piece of her clothing. Seeing this action, Daphne thought to herself, "Why is he holding my hand so cutely, so adorable? I'll listen to what he has to say." She looked at him and asked, "What do you want?" Celestin wondered, "What do I want?" Daphne quickly said, "You're doing this because you want something from me, right?" In her heart, she thought, "Does he think I don't know he's trying to seduce me to get close to Seiki?" Celestin couldn't believe it, let go of her hand, and asked sadly, "Why is that?" Daphne replied, "You said that if you gave me yourself, I would have to pay a price for it, right?" He said sadly, "Why did the story turn out like this?" Daphne exclaimed in surprise, "Huh?" She thought to herself, "Is he really that stupid? He doesn't understand unless I spell it out. He doesn't need to seduce me to get close to Seiki. Doesn't he know that?" After a moment, she continued, "Prince." She raised both hands to pull his face closer and said with a smile, "I have the power to give you what you want. And luckily, I love you, which means I give you the right to use me without having to do these things." As their lips almost touched, she gently said the final sentence, "The right to use me without having to seduce me." Celestin looked at her in disbelief and replied, "Liar." Daphne angrily shouted, "What?" She asked him loudly, "When did I lie?" He let her pinch his face and answered helplessly, "You lie every time you open your mouth." Hearing that, she became even angrier and scolded. When? When did I lie? What did you mean just now? I've heard a lot about crazy people, but I'm a person who keeps my word. After a moment, Daphne thought to herself, or maybe he means my love is fake. Should I hit him? It's like electricity, so handsome. Hitting him would destroy a national treasure. Suddenly, there was a call from outside. "Young lady." The door slowly opened to reveal Misa's gloomy face. He spoke up and asked, "Why are you here?" Daphne was startled and shouted, "Oh my God, this is crazy. What is this?" She quickly jumped back, bumping into Celestin and making him fall to the ground. Daphne, not paying attention, looked at Misa and continued, "Oh, what a surprise. What's wrong? Why did you suddenly appear?" He quickly replied, "I went looking for you because I didn't see my master return. Why are you here?" "I thought I should choose an outfit for tomorrow," Sonaris. Suddenly he turned and saw Celestin on the floor. His face turned pale as he asked, "Why is he here?" Not answering him, under Celestin's gloomy gaze, she said, "Thank goodness, take me back." Misa, under his deathly gaze, struggled to speak. "Young lady," he thought to himself, "otherwise the prince will kill me." Daphne quickly waved goodbye to Celestin and said with a smile, "I'm leaving Seal's prince have a nightmare." In the room now, only the lonely back of Celestin remained. After a moment, he sighed and said, "I really don't know what to do anymore." The next morning, Daphne's cheerful voice rang out. "The weather is beautiful. Good morning." She looked at Celestin and asked, "Did you sleep well, prince?" He quickly turned away and replied, "No, thanks to you, not at all." She chuckled and said, "Good morning." "Thank you." Seeing he was unhappy, she moved closer, lifted his face, and said, "Hey, look at my face when you answer." Celestin said unhappily, "Let go." Daphne thought to herself, "I love this." She let go of his hand and continued, "Are you not fully awake because it's the morning? It'll be troublesome if you're like this at the party." Seeing he said nothing, she didn't pay attention either. She was about to take a handkerchief from her clothes but couldn't find it. She thought to herself, "I lost one. I really cherished it. I wonder where I left it." Daphne forgot she had given it to this person, Celestin. After searching for a while without finding it, she called out, "Misa." He approached, bowed, and asked, "What is it?" She asked. "We're going to shop later, right?" Misa replied seriously, "That's right. I have to pick up the dress for tonight's party." Daphne said cheerfully, "Buy a few more pairs of gloves, and while you're at it, buy the one you like." Misa quickly replied, "Yes, your dress is very beautiful today." This sentence made Daphne very happy. She smiled brightly and said, "It's beautiful, right? My prince and I are wearing matching outfits." Misa replied calmly, "It seems so. You're not worried about anything, are you? There's nothing in the dress, right?" Daphne said playfully, "It has my heart, won't it?" Celestin stared at her without saying anything, while Misa replied seriously, "I don't need something that can't be exchanged for money. The more you say that, the more worried I get." Daphne wondered, "Oh, if you're worried, what are you going to do?" Misa said awkwardly, "I can't do anything, but I will pray that my workload doesn't increase." Daphne smiled brightly. "Yes, pray a lot." "Amen." Then Misa bowed and said, "Anyway, see you later." The carriage wheels rolled. The wind made her hair fly. But her eyes always followed Celestin. She thought to herself, "This face really doesn't suit a rebel at all." "What?" Seeing her staring at him, he spoke up and asked, "Is there any reason why you shouldn't wear dress?" She replied softly, "Until my leg is broken, I will still dance because of my legs." Sitting in the same carriage, but Celestin and Daphne sat at opposite ends. Not accepting the situation, he hesitantly asked, "Legs?" She didn't hide it, but only answered reluctantly, "Yes, a car accident." Speaking of this matter, Daphne couldn't help but remember the image of herself as a child, wearing a beautiful dance costume. "When I was little, my dream was to become the principal dancer of a ballet company. I studied dance because I had plenty of time and money to investment. However, life is not a dream, and I lack talent." While everyone was dancing smoothly, she faltered for a beat. This action caused the audience below to start gossiping. How could she be in the center with those skills? Don't you know? She's a bucator. I heard the bucators sponsored the ballet company's operating costs for 3 years. These words made Elena, who was sitting below, her face darkening with displeasure. Soon, the performance ended, and as Daphne changed into her regular clothes, someone called out to her, "Daphne." The owner of the voice, Elena, slowly approached from a distance. Seeing who it was, she couldn't hide her joy. "Ah, you're here." Looking at Elena, Daphne was endlessly excited. "Mother." Elena did not disappoint her and replied in a standard manner, "Of course, this is my daughter's performance. The car is waiting outside. Let's go." Hearing those words, Daphne ended her conversation and said goodbye to her friend. "Ellie, I'm leaving now." The other girl also replied friendly, "Okay, see you later." After saying goodbye to her friend, Daphne joyfully ran to where Elena was standing. "Mother." Getting into the car as it drove along the road, Daphne couldn't contain her excitement and asked for an opinion. "How was it today?" Without waiting for Elena's reply, the young girl asked another question. "I suit the center position, don't I?" Elena, sitting beside her with a noble air, did not deny it. "Yes, I thought you would get bored quickly, but you've been doing it for quite a while." The young girl heard this and quickly retorted, "It's fun, mother." Seeing her daughter so happy, Elena gave a wry smile and stated her own request. But Daphne, from now on, you should study with the royal family instead. After the debut will be the engagement ceremony. From now on, you must prepare well. Continuing with ballet is not a good choice, my child. Every single word stunned Daphne, her face showing clear unwillingness and frustration. The young girl immediately fell into a state of confusion, not knowing what to do in this situation. Daphne then naively and recklessly said something that would change her life forever. I don't want to. I'd rather dance ballet than get engaged. I will continue to dance until my legs break. Faced with her daughter's words, Elena smiled sinisterly and asked for confirmation again. Really? After that day, a bloody scene made Daphne regret it endlessly. I shouldn't have said that. Returning to the present, she remembered that conversation and couldn't help but laugh self-deprecatingly. And not long after, I had an accident. Along with my leg, my dream was also shattered. Daphne then even put her leg on Celestin and began to show off. This is a prosthetic leg. It looks real, doesn't it? Look, it moves. Looking at the moving leg on his thigh, he commented emotionlessly. What prosthetic leg? This attitude made Daphne quite dissatisfied. A reaction like that is no fun at all. Celestin could only sigh indulgently. Daphne, not giving up, revealed the crack on her leg and continued to ask, does doing this make it feel different? However, when Celestin looked at the mark, he had a different comment. It looks like an ink painting. These words greatly surprised Daphne opposite him. She then forced a laugh, sat up straight, and reluctantly spoke. Strange, isn't it? Everyone says it looks like a tree branch. It's a bit ticklish. Finally, Daphne shyly turned away and hurriedly stated her purpose. Today, I'm going to see Mildred, the person I met at the sanatorium, met and sponsored. Now she is the kingdom's representative organist. Mentioning this, she couldn't help but remember a past scene where a girl with a broken arm talked to Daphne, who was on crutches at the time. If I had as much money as you, I could do anything. So what if you have money? It's useless without talent. Returning to the present, Daphne proudly raised her hand, a rough gem that I have polished. My eye for talent is no small matter. However, at this point, Celestin still kept his head down without saying anything, an action that caught her attention. Is he just staring at my leg? After observing for a moment, he looked up and asked in confusion, don't you feel anything? Daphne was surprised by the question. What? Celestin honestly replied, you lost your dream. Knowing the reason, Daphne pondered and then answered, well, I was very sad at that time. After thinking for another moment, she added, accidents are like that. They happen when you're unlucky. I was just unlucky. After some thought, Daphne became cheerful again, and I have more talent for business. This reaction made Celestin fall silent. Seeing him say nothing more, Daphne stubbornly gave a reason for her argument. Actually, watching a performance is more interesting than participating. It's even better this way. Soon, the two arrived at the theater and settled in their seats. Wow, I didn't expect the tickets to be so expensive. It's a full house. Celestin sat beside her, arms crossed in silence. Suddenly, Daphne noticed something. Down below, Psyche entered hand in hand with Romeo, smiling brightly. Seeing this, she remarked, the main characters arrive wherever they go. Huh? While watching Psyche, Daphne asked a short question. Aren't you going to look? This made Celestin not quite understand. What? She took off her glasses and explained. It's been a long time since you've seen the person you like. Hearing this, he couldn't help but sigh helplessly. Celestin thought for a moment and then answered briefly. I see her every day. This time it was Daphne's turn to be speechless. What? You think about her every day? She then continued to tease. Still beautiful after all this time. At this point, Celestin could only give a smile that was 3 parts helpless and 7 parts doting. Yeah. Daphne then began to recall the description in the book, Close Distance, afraid that Psyche would melt under his temperature. Celestin had said that, and she looked at the person next to her and pouted. The author is so indifferent. If he's that loyal, they should at least let them hold hands once, right? When music began, Daphne put the matter aside. It's starting. The girl then appeared and began to glide her fingers over the keys of the instrument. As soon as the first note sounded, Celestin stiffened. This strange reaction caught Daphne's attention. What is it? That girl. She's only 16, but the theme of the stage is, a few seconds later, he began to tremble in fear. This reaction left her bewildered. Looking at Celestin covering his face, she wondered, why does he have that expression? A moment later, a singing voice rang out. Are you only mean to me? As soon as these words were sung, Celestin jumped up but was stopped by Daphne. What? Shoo! Seeing that she wasn't paying attention to him, Celestin began to recall dark memories. Why? You can't remember me every time. A few more hours passed and the concert ended, making Daphne clap with excitement. Ah, that was wonderful. The pipe organ suits the tragic theme, like a sacred funeral. In contrast to her, Celestin bowed his head and clutched his stomach. Only then did Daphne notice this strangeness. Celeste, are you sleeping? After observing for a moment, Daphne requested, Celeste, open your eyes. He obeyed, opening his reddened eyes. Seeing the swollen corners of his eyes, she was stunned. Heavens, were you crying? So what does it hurt? Celestin chose to be evasive. I wasn't crying. He then randomly found a reason. My favorite piece was played so brilliantly it moved me. Knowing the reason, she was surprised. You like music used in funerals? That's a surprise, Prince. These words successfully made him freeze on the spot. However, Celestin said nothing. Daphne now stood up and asked for his opinion. I'm about to go see Mildred. Do you want to come along? Maybe Psyche will greet you. He refused immediately. She would be uncomfortable. I'll stay here. This answer surprised her again. Oh, Prince, you're thinking of me. Huh? Are you content with just this? Celestin retorted. And if I'm not content, what then? I'm a traitor. I can't be classified as the trash they say I am. Greedy? Is it possible to possess it? These words left her speechless. It's true, suddenly realizing his status. Daphne started to consider another possibility. Or is he saying that to see my reaction? Breaking from her thoughts, she stubbornly pulled him along. Let's go. Celestin was confused. Go where? To smoke. He still found a reason to object. I don't smoke. Hearing this, Daphne was even more surprised, remembering that all the royals she knew were like living incense burners. Really? That's a surprise. You should try learning. Celestin finally followed, asking as he walked. You hate men who smoke, don't you? She didn't deny it. That's right. Then Daphne imagined Celestin smoking and strongly disapproved, clearly not liking it. She suddenly noticed something else. But what does my hating it have to do with anything? Celestin gave a reason no one could refute. I'm a slave. I'm not allowed to do what you hate. These words were immediately countered by her. A slave? You are my prince. Celestin listened as he opened the door. Interesting if I am your prince. After opening the door, he asked with a deadpan expression, Then are you my princess? These words were all heard by Romeo. He then asked with a displeased face, What princess? Recognizing that voice, the two main characters fell silent. Why is he here? Daphne, snapping out her thoughts, looked at the brightly smiling Romeo with a deadpan expression. Who are you, and what are you doing standing there? Being asked this, he was not fazed and explained. Our Lady Bucator seems to have trained a great talent, so I came to offer my praise. Daphne quickly retorted, What the hell is there to praise? I know very well you only came here to cause trouble. Hearing those angry words, Romeo maintained his usual flippant demeanor. You know me well. Are you planning to bring this impurity with you wherever you go now? Go on. She heard his words and replied sarcastically with a gentle smile. Oh my, what impurity is here? Are you perhaps talking about yourself? The two then began to trade barbs back and forth with saintly faces, while Celestin stood by witnessing this scene. In silence. He then couldn't stand the situation any longer and approached where she was standing. Without a word, Celestin grabbed Daphne's shoulder and pulled her forcefully towards him, leaving her bewildered. Not stopping there, he turned her around and hugged Daphne, his eyes full of tenderness. We spent several nights sleeping together. Hasn't our princess resolved her old relationships yet? Every single word made Daphne freeze, not understanding anything. She quickly became dejected, wondering with a deadpan expression, What the hell is this? What's going on now? Don't tell me he doesn't remember my name, so he's just calling me whatever. This scene left Romeo, who was behind them, bewildered. He then thought of something and gave a sinister smile. So that's what you mean, huh? Romeo then refused to remain an outsider and quickly ran up, grabbed Daphne's hand, and pulled her back. Just when it seemed things would stop there, he smiled sinisterly and began to tease. You must know very well how much Didi loves me, right? These words terrified her. What is this madman? Romeo, seemingly tireless, took Daphne's hand to caress his own cheek and continued his teasing. A heart can't run dry after this one night, right, Didi? These words successfully made Daphne grit her teeth in anger. Right, my ass. This guy is really crazy. Celestin only glanced over without any reaction. Not backing down, he asked directly, What about Denver, Romeo? Being asked this, he squeezed Daphne's hand, smiled brightly, and offered his own speculation. She's probably having fun with that organist right now, just as I said. I only came to praise the sponsor of the performance. Pausing for a moment, Romeo added, but if I had known my villainess was here with her new lover, I would have prepared beforehand. This time, Daphne was officially furious enough to grit her teeth. My villainess, what the hell is this? What's suddenly wrong with this madman? Faced with her furious demeanor, Romeo was not at all afraid and added with a bright smile, I read your last letter. It said you had cast me from your heart, but now you don't hesitate to say such venomous words to me. I know you're doing this on purpose, because you have your eye on my older brother. Every single word made Daphne's teeth grind. What is this madman talking about? I've never sent any letter. Speechless, not knowing what to say. Not only was she angry, but Celestin behind her was also not pleased at all. Romeo got more and more into his role, stroking his chin and smirking as he spoke. But my brother is nothing like me, Didi. Is your only alternative my brother? At this question, Daphne's face darkened, her eyes looking like she wanted to eat the person in front of her alive. This lunatic, the more she thought, the more negative she became, confirming once will help avoid suffering 3 times. Before this situation could continue, a hand reached out and covered her eyes. Celestin covered Daphne's eyes and pointed out with a serious face, Romeo, Lady Bucator is uncomfortable. Observing this reaction and warning, he finally gave up and became serious again. All right, I'll be going. If I'm any later, my beloved wife will surely get upset. Hope to see you again on another occasion. Saying that, Romeo turned but didn't leave completely, adding in a provocative manner, well then, see you at the ball later, Didi. We have a lot to talk about. With that, ignoring the other two's discomfort, he walked away, humming some tune. Only when the other person was completely gone did Celestin remove his hand. Hey, Bucator. Daphne heard this, sighed in relief, and asked, what kind of way is that to call my name? What is it? After thinking for a long while, he hesitantly voiced his question. Did you ever send a letter to Romeo? When was that? Being asked this, Daphne thought for a moment and then replied, I don't remember. I probably sent one at some point. Celestin got the answer he wanted and continued to point out, Romeo is just your cousin. You said you had no intention of getting back with him. Hearing these words, Daphne immediately understood and sighed. There's no way that's happening. Hey, Prince, don't misunderstand. Before she could finish her sentence, he voiced the dissatisfaction in his heart, surprising her endlessly. Am I just a replacement? The more he spoke, the more Celestin couldn't hold back his emotions, his expression looking as if he was about to cry. Am I just a substitute? These words left Daphne bewildered, not understanding anything. Just what now? Not letting things go further and lead to a misunderstanding, she quickly composed herself and explained. You're not a replacement, no way. If you think about it, you're the target, and Romeo is just the means. He seems a little angry, but he still looks so cute. Seeing no reaction from him, Daphne changed the subject. All right then, let's go. We won't see Psyche even if we go now, but we'll see her at the ball later. Time flew by and sunset fell. Romeo greeted them with a bright smile, while Psyche's face was filled with terror. Faced with that reaction, she could only give a wry smile. Though she was smiling on the outside, she was cursing inwardly. Oh, Romeo. Seeing Psyche looking at her with hatred, she wondered, did we come without telling Psyche? Noticing the situation was not good, Romeo caressed the face of the person next to him to reassure her. Don't make that face. Your beautiful face will be ruined. In another corner, Daphne judged harshly. This pervert, look at his delighted expression. Romeo even comforted her. I'm leaving now. See you later, which gave Daphne a scare. What kind of hobby is it to annoy people and then console them? Seeing an opportunity, she pushed Celestin, intending to make a quick escape. Celestin, let's go together. Unfortunately, Romeo caught them and stopped them. Where are you going? I said I had something to talk to you about. These words angered her. Can't you write a letter and send it? He refused. What if I don't want to? In the end, she had to turn her head in annoyance. You really won't let it go. Accepting the reality, Daphne sighed and requested, Celestin, wait somewhere for a bit. I'll talk to him quickly and come back. Hearing this, Celestin was dejected. They're going to fight again. Outside on the balcony, Daphne questioned angrily, Romeo, what's wrong with you? Not stopping there, she asked further, are you that confident? You're not going to see Psyche? Romeo, with his hands in his pockets, answered nonchalantly, I know how to act around Psyche anyway. Just as you taught me, smile just enough, but hold back a little. Hearing this, she was nothing but annoyed. What do you want to say? I still have to go and console Psyche. Not want to talk about this anymore. Romeo changed the subject. Why did you two come here together? Being asked this, she was annoyed. Celestin, you were the one who invited him. Me? Romeo couldn't believe his ears. Really? She also replied, bewildered. What am I supposed to say? Sorry for being rude? At those words, he just chuckled. The rudeness is what your prince did. It seems he's forgotten he's a traitor. Look at him, holding his head high, without any shame. Being taunted like that, Daphne held her face in frustration. I'm going crazy. That mouth of yours will get you in trouble. Romeo said nothing, just focused on enjoying his wine. Daphne then thought of something and smiled sinisterly. It wouldn't be strange even if that wine was poisoned. At all. These words made Romeo, who had just taken a sip of wine, surprised. What? Immediately after, the wine glass fell. Everything happened so fast that Daphne couldn't believe her eyes. After drinking the wine, Romeo started to bleed. Suddenly, Romeo clutched his chest and staggered, leaning his hand against the wall, which startled Daphne. All the nobles there were just as surprised, and they quickly turned towards the two to see what was happening. Daphne panicked, her eyes wide and mouth agape as she thought. Damn it, even for me this is... Daphne let Romeo grab her hand, utterly bewildered. What are you doing? Spitting out wine like that, damn it. It might have been lucky I didn't prepare white grape wine. Daphne almost fell with Romeo. He really couldn't stand up straight anymore. Romeo held Daphne's hand tightly and asked, This wine you brought it, right? Only then did Daphne realize with a jolt. That's right, I've always managed the wine at Psyche's parties. She quickly cleared her name. Romy, on my honor, I didn't do it. I never play such stupid games. If I were going to kill you, I would have shot you and then kill myself. Romeo slowly sat up and asked her, Are you confessing? Daphne screamed in a panic. If I kill you, I have to die too. You're crazy. Perhaps there was poison in the wine, and Romeo had really been poisoned. His whole body trembled in spasms. Such suspicious timing. Why did you say that just before? Daphne broke out in a sweat. It was just a joke, but can you let go of my hand? Even though I've been trained against poison since I was a child. So this isn't a big deal. The real problem is... All the eyes of all the nobles here were on the two of them. Daphne was terrified. The crime of assassinating a member of the royal family. Even with my fortune, it would be hard to escape. If I'm misunderstood in this situation, it's a certain death sentence. She frantically shook Romeo. Romy, wake up, we're doomed. It seems Daphne really did bring Celestin along. He stood out in the noisy crowd. Celestin searched for Daphne's figure in the crowd. Where to go now? There's nowhere left to go. Suddenly, the crowd became noisy, as if something dramatic was happening. Oh my, what's going on? That hair, isn't that Bucator's? Oh my god, it's that wicked woman again. They made up their own story about Romeo and Daphne. You rejected him. We're over. You chose another woman. Romeo Rodriguez. They exclaimed in shock. Heavens, that's His Highness the Crown Prince. A love affair? But the Crown Prince clearly loves Lady Denver. It must be that wicked woman up to her tricks again. They cursed Daphne terribly without knowing what really happened. You vulgar woman, what are you doing here without any shame? How can you be so depraved? Not a shred of upbringing or elegance. Celestin turned to look at them, thinking to himself, truly an outcast in high society. Her reputation is terrible. The crowd roared. Celestin thought worriedly. You can tell from her face she's stunned. What kind of scheme is this? What on earth is going on? He was startled to see Psyche run up and brush past him without a moment's hesitation. Celestin stared after her, stunned. He seemed to want to say something, thinking to himself, is my brother just a substitute? So that's what it was all about. Just a substitute for Romeo. Celestin turned and left in disappointment. Yes, nothing has changed at all. Daphne was still in a panic, but seeing Psyche was like finding a savior. She exclaimed Psyche. Psyche covered her mouth and whispered, I only guessed because I saw everyone's eyes turning this way. Daphne quickly cut off her long-winded words. I didn't do it. Psyche hugged the purple-faced Romeo from the poison. Poison? Is this poison? Daphne sighed. Yes. Psyche asked again. Did Daphne drink it too? Daphne quickly replied, No, I haven't drunk any. Psyche sighed in relief. Then that's very lucky. She then truly paid attention to her fiancé. Because of the poison, he had temporarily lost consciousness, and blood kept trickling from the corner of his mouth. Psyche spoke. Daphne looked at Psyche in surprise, waiting for her to continue. Psyche told her a shocking secret. This isn't the first time someone has sent poison wine. I didn't say anything because I was worried, but this is the third assassination attempt since we announced our engagement. Romeo, can you get up? Daphne obviously didn't expect this. What madman is bold enough to? Psyche helped Romeo up while answering her. We are still investigating. This time it was probably caused by the same person. Therefore, to avoid unnecessary fuss, let's just say my fiancé drank too much today, but I have to go out and get Daphne. Daphne told her, if the crown prince's future fiancé treats the villainess like that, it will be a really big deal. I'm also with. She didn't finish her sentence before she realized with a jolt that Celestin was no longer there. Damn it. Wait, would he really sit quietly in this commotion, or did he run away? Psyche saw her reaction and probably had a vague idea of what was going on. She sighed, go, Daphne. Let me handle things. Romy, can you force a little smile? At least, seeing the balcony door open, the nobles there were in an uproar. They're coming. What on earth happened? Psyche supported Romeo, who was smiling through his trembling body, and announced to everyone there, it seems my fiancé had a drink with a close relative after a long time apart, so he drank a little too much. Thank you all for coming. I hope you all rest and enjoy yourselves before you leave. Daphne quickly found a way to sneak out through a window thanks to Psyche's arrangement. She thought to herself, Romeo, he can pretend to smile even after drinking poison. His spirit is truly admirable. People began to whisper, ugh, what is this? Where's Bucator? She ran as fast as she could towards the exit. Daphne ran while looking around, searching for any sign of Celestin. What if he escaped? Why did I think he wouldn't run away? There's no reason for him not to run, yet I foolishly let him go. Daphne's face darkened at the thought of losing Celestin. He said goodbye to her as he gained his freedom. Goodbye, Celestin. She suddenly called his name loudly in the crowd. Celestin. No, surprisingly, someone called her name from behind. It was Celestin. Bucator. He said to her, I've been thinking you really have no business ethics. You made me wait for too long, and then you disappeared without a word. Daphne almost burst into tears. She looked at him with a contorted, wrinkled face. I haven't left yet. The expression on her face surprised him a little. Celestin quickly explained to her, where'd I have to go? After the party, tabloid articles were rampant throughout the capital. The person in charge was truly angry. When will my daughter stop getting involved in such rumors? Daphne smiled and explained to her, the fact that your daughter still has influence, yet you only see it as a rumor, truly saddens me. The headline in a newspaper was a line that stirred excitement in the hearts of readers. Broken glass. The unfinished love triangle. Daphne thought to herself, it's just a rumor anyway, but luckily, it's not related to the poisoning. It's a relief not to be accused of assassinating a member of the royal family. Mrs. Elena brought a cigarette to her lips and smoked. She asked her, how do you plan to repay the gold mine I gave you? Daphne feigned innocence. What? Who am I repaying? Mrs. Elena shouted at her. From the moment you were born, you've been in debt to Amber Green. Daphne sighed. You're so strange, mother. Why are you dissatisfied again? Mrs. Elena calmly crossed her arms. It's not worth investing in someone useless. I must collect it back with interest. Daphne discussed it with her seriously. Why? You were satisfied when you bought Celeste. Mrs. Elena nodded. Yes, that troublemaker. Well, half of Celestin Therios's blood is also Rodrigo's. Daphne, are you planning to make him king? Daphne was startled. Huh? No way. Mrs. Elena asked again. Then why did you buy him? Daphne answered honestly, because he cries beautifully. Obviously, Mrs. Elena did not believe that answer at all. What? Daphne began to tell her about her love story. About 2 years ago, on your birthday, I met him. At that time, he was arrogant and haughty, so I couldn't get close. Mrs. Elena was secretly pleased. That's my daughter. Then make him king. I will help you. Daphne was fed up with this request. I don't like it. I'd rather be king myself. Mrs. Elena objected to her idea. How can a girl be king? Since the founding of Socratian, there has never been a queen. That's the precedent. You can't do it even if you want to. Making Celestin king is more realistic. Daphne stood up abruptly in frustration. Mother, don't talk about such things anymore. Celeste is a national treasure. He's more beautiful than me. How can you say he'll be king? Mrs. Elena calmly told her, sit down and stop talking nonsense. Daphne sat down as requested by her. I have no intention of writing my name into this dynasty's family tree, let alone becoming queen. I don't want to live imprisoned in a palace waiting for my busy husband. Mrs. Elena lightly flicked the ash from her cigarette. Why don't you have any ambition? Daphne rolled her eyes. Me? Mrs. Elena continued to suggest. Come on, Crown Prince Arenta just divorced his official wife. Daphne leaned back in her chair. The Crown Prince? What surprise. Mrs. Elena stubbed out her cigarette. Being the queen of a large empire instead of a small kingdom is also a good idea. I will send a marriage proposal. You should marry him. Daphne smirked. She said to her mother, Honestly, riding camels, eating porridge made with goat's milk, wearing fur coats. It sounds romantic, but if I went there, I'd probably live quite well, wouldn't I? Elena told her daughter, turn that royal family into a civilized country. I believe you can do it. Daphne lowered her eyes, her voice sad as she spoke. Why do you keep wanting to marry me off to a man like that? If you keep this up, I'll just have a child with Celestin. Elena thought for a moment, then quickly agreed. Your child will carry the blood of Rodrigo and Green, right? Then that's another candidate for the throne. Daphne was so angry she laughed. That kind of threat won't work. Don't use me and my child as tools for your ambition. I don't want to be dragged into politics or succession disputes. If I get pulled in, I will really commit suicide. Elena did not reply. However, she nonchalantly threw the lit cigarette towards her. Daphne flinched and dodged. Elena was angry. Who do you take after to turn out like this? Daphne retorted, who else? A daughter is a reflection of her mother. Elena quickly said, no, our daughter is nothing like her mother. If you were even half like me, I would be more at ease, right? Daphne told her, no matter what you say, I will never do as you wish. Elena challenged her, right, just you wait and see. Daphne shot to her feet, sighed, and left. Sigh. She rubbed her forehead. Sigh, every time I talk to my mother, I feel exhausted. Suddenly, a voice caught her attention. You're back. She was surprised to see the person sitting there. Celeste. Seeing his handsome face, Daphne had to exclaim, this face is truly like heaven. Just looking at it makes all my fatigue disappear. She sidled up to him. Reading a book? What book is it? She was secretly curious. What genre does Celeste like? She glanced down and suddenly saw the title of the book in his hand. 19+ romantic novel, The Rain from Claudia. She had to look at him in a new light. The prince has such elegant taste. Celestin looked at her. What's so elegant about such a mediocre book? This one is very light. Try reading the one with a red cover. You'll enter a new world. Daphne quickly refused. I'm not interested. Celestin stopped looking at her. However, he still asked, why are you back so late? Daphne laughed. So that's why you've been so irritable. Is it because of this? It's because Amber Green was being so annoying. Celestin lifted his head to look at her. Amber Green? Daphne explained, oh, that's my mother. Oh, right. How would you know my mother? The prince doesn't even know my name. Celestin was suddenly stunned. His face hardened. Daphne asked in surprise, why are you making a face like that? Do you know my name? Celestin didn't answer, so Daphne answered for him. You don't. Celestin spoke. I really want to call your name. Let me call your name. But he mistook it for another name, Diana. Celestin was like a child waiting for praise from an adult, right? Daphne pouted and replied, what are you thinking? You really don't pay attention to anyone other than Seiki. Celestin didn't answer her. He changed the subject. I've been wondering for a long time. Daphne quickly replied, Celestin turned his head to look at her. How did you know about the nature of my relationship with Seiki? Daphne was utterly bewildered, a giant question mark appearing over her head. She thought to herself, who doesn't know that? Isn't it obvious? He killed people and committed arson to win her heart. It's all part of the plot. He's the villain. She answered without looking at him. I can easily tell just by looking into the eyes of the person I like. Celestin asked her, the first time we were that close was that day. Daphne immediately turned back to look at him. That day, which day? However, Celestin didn't answer and just lowered his head. She quickly thought, the execution, right? She told him, when you went to the concert, you cried because seeing Seiki moved you. Just a faint sin of her, and you think it's Seiki waking up in fear. My goodness, Prince, and you still don't realize it? Go to sleep. I have to work. Celestin held her back. It's still early. Daphne smiled. Bored? Go back to reading that pink-covered book. You're getting in my way. Celestin reached a hand toward her. Getting in your way? Am I bothering you? Daphne's heart pounded because of his expression. Celestin turned his face away and asked sulkily, you don't love me after all, do you? Daphne replied joyfully, I do love you. Celestin sat up. He took shuffling steps and walked away. Stop it. He lay face down on the bed. Watching this series of actions, Daphne wondered, he's having a sudden temper tantrum again. So hard to understand. She didn't bother to console him anymore. Then just sleep quietly, sleep until the afternoon tomorrow, and then we'll go shopping. Celestin asked boredly, where are we going again? Daphne turned back and said, drinking. Celestin asked again, when will you be back? Daphne replied, I won't be back. We're sleeping separately. So why are you asking? Celestin's voice was hoarse as he tried to hold her back. It's raining. Stay with me. Daphne almost suffocated. She shrieked, you don't even know my name. How can you try to sweet-talk me? Celestin looked up. You never told me your name. What is your name? Daphne walked straight towards the door. I don't know. Celestin said, if you don't even know your own name, how can I know it? Daphne raised her middle finger at him. A noble businesswoman of Socratian has no name to tell a lowly prince. She turned away arrogantly. Celestin watched her for a moment. He asked again, "Are you angry?" Daphne replied, "No, not at all." She slammed the door shut. They say a fangirl never achieves her dream that he can only remember Z. I worked so hard to save his life, and he dares to be so rude. She looked up toward the window. She felt a sense of unease in her heart. What? It's just rain. Daphne paused for a moment by the window frame. She was a little annoyed. Why do I suddenly have such a bad feeling? Under the dark, gloomy sky. In the room, Misa brought an umbrella and a cloak. For Celestin. Celestin looked at him coldly and asked softly, "Misa?" He quickly replied, "Yes." "Does your mistress often say, 'I love you'?" Misa was stunned, his eyes wide as he looked at him, not understanding the real meaning of this question. Misa imagined the scene of Lady Daphne expressing her affection for him. Say, "I love you so much." He broke into a cold sweat and stammered. "Why do you ask, sir?" Celestin answered frankly without any concealment. "Because I've never heard it, not even when we sleep together." Misa chuckled to himself. What is this? I really want to tease him. He sighed and began to brag. "Of course my mistress says, 'I love you' often. She's so beloved that men and women line up for her." Celestin immediately fell into contemplation, lost in his own painful speculation. Really? Seeing Celestin's mood sink, Misa stared after him with wide eyes. He hastily explained, becoming more and more flustered, afraid that Celestin would be sad. "That's not true at all. My mistress is naturally a person who is very sparing with affectionate words, but you absolutely didn't hear a word I said." "All right, stop making excuses." Daphne shouted from outside, "Celeste, why aren't you out here yet?" Misa trembled in panic, and Celestin bumped a painful arm against him as he passed. He replied heavily, "I'll be right out." Misa held one ear, staring at him uncomfortably. He muttered angrily, "I don't know why, but since last time I haven't wanted to be close to him." He even thought that Celestin didn't care about Lady Denver at all. He didn't understand why, but he wanted the mistress's attention. Seeing the intimate look between the two, Misa felt even more uncomfortable. The mistress probably doesn't realize it, but... He then let out a few foolish laughs. This is probably going to be trouble again, right? But what Misa understood even less was that Prince, how could he love like that? Daphne was adorned in new clothes, while Celestin carried a pile of things in his hands, with another bag of items on his head. He stared at her, stunned. "Bucator, did you bring me along to be a porter?" Daphne smiled like a flower and announced, "This is the romance of shopping. The prince doesn't understand a thing." Celestin replied dejectedly, "I don't want to understand, and I don't need to understand." She entered the shopping mall and began splurging excessively. From here to there, pick out everything that fits. The store manager, standing beside them, was overjoyed, his eyes shining. From a distance, Celestin muttered, "I heard that every time she goes to the mall, she carries the entire day's revenue. Her style is truly different." From early morning until night, the manager finally had to say, "Travel safely, customer." Daphne grinned after leaving the mall, put the things in the car, and then turned back to take another stroll. There wasn't a spot on Celestin that didn't have a new shopping bag, and there were several gift boxes piled on his head. The two returned to the car to put the things away. She frowned. "But where's the driver?" "The car is parked here." She glanced around, searching. Celestin glanced towards the large building on the other side and muttered, "I've positioned Misa and the guards on the other side of the roof already, and over there is." He frowned and glanced over. The crowd began to run chaotically, signs, roaring shouts, "Celestin Teriosa, for the sake of honor, kill yourself." It's absurd that the traitor is still alive and well. Besides him, the wicked woman of Socratian, selling her reputation just to play a game of love. Do you feel no shame? She whispered angrily, "Oh my God." Even on these gloomy days, to them, wicked woman is a reputation. Celestin smiled, asking softly, "This is the group of people you said hated you, right?" He bowed respectfully to the beautiful lady beside him. "They said if I step outside, I'll be roasted on a fire and thrown away." So the warning wasn't a lie. Daphne clutched her collar. "Well, I wasn't lying." Suddenly, Celestin held out his hand. She glared at him. "What trick are you playing now?" He still held out his hand politely, reminding her, if we don't act intimately, they'll find it strange. We're just lovers on the surface. On the surface, she said harsh words, but her actions were completely intimate. Forget it if they look at us strangely. Let them. When have I ever cared? But her hand still linked with Celestin's. He frowned. "You don't care, but your words and actions don't match at all." "Really?" Daphne blamed him, who started it first. The shouts from behind grew louder, drowning out the sounds here. "Helena Teriosa, that a princess of a defeated nation dares to seduce our majesty, almost destroying our great dignity." Daphne's jaw dropped. Insulting my mother is too much. Celestin glanced over with a sharp gaze. She tried to stay calm, hastily pulling him away. Let's just go wait somewhere. There's a famous cafe right behind us. He kept looking back. In the shouting crowd, two strangers were staring in their direction. Celestin also noticed this, and he became more alert. But after Celestin looked closely, those two people vanished. Outside, a heavy rain began to fall. The two had arrived at a cafe. He was shaking out the umbrella behind her, while Daphne looked outside through the glass door. As soon as we stepped inside, it was like magic. It started raining again. She grumbled at Celestin. How can a driver just leave without saying anything to his employer? He didn't care about that. Just wait for him to arrive. I'm not bothered. Daphne suddenly froze, staring ahead. Celestin was also confused and grunted. He turned to look where she was looking. A dark figure appeared not far away. She said with a smirk to Celeste, "Reporters are showing up too." "Celeste, you really are a superstar." But he thought things weren't that simple. He just remained silent. That dark figure walked towards the carriage waiting outside. Both of them continued to watch from a distance, each with their own thoughts. Right near the capital station, both were in a state of alert. In the evening, the cafe was famous for its romantic atmosphere. Daphne also gradually realized something was suspicious. Even though it was raining, it should have been crowded, but this place was eerily quiet, as if by appointment, and the driver left without warning. The sound of a horse neighing outside suddenly rang out. Frighteningly, familiar. She stared outside, stunned. This scene was like something she had seen before. A few years ago, the memories came flooding back. A black carriage rushing forward with a silent driver. The coachman jumped out from the side. And now again, there was only the carriage hurtling towards the glass window opposite Daphne. Celeste lunged forward, shouting, "Daphne!" She only had time to turn and look at Celestin, stunned. There was no miracle here. The carriage still hurtled forward, shattering the glass door into fragments that shot inside. Celeste had lunged to embrace her. "Celestin!" His voice rang out steadily, waking her. "Daphne, wake up. Please wake up, Daphne." She looked dimly, but it didn't seem to be the Celeste she loved. "Celeste, no, that's wrong." She told herself that. The shouting still echoed in her ears. Daphne opened her eyes. She was mumbling, her voice deeper, cracked, and full of sorrow. The image of Romeo from that year appeared before her again. "Daphne." Seeing her groggily waking up, Celeste sighed. "Daphne, breathe." "Celestin." She felt at peace lying in his arms. He asked softly, "Are you okay?" "My name, you know it." Daphne smiled brightly. Celeste chided, "How can you say that at a time like this?" He still worriedly helped her to her feet. "Are you hurt anywhere?" Daphne shook her head. "It's just I was a little scared." Strange footsteps began to appear, surrounding the two of them. Celestin frowned warily. Here's the trouble. The two of them glanced around. There were more people than he thought. What a nuisance. One of his arms wrapped around her waist. The other tightly gripped the umbrella in his hand. Celestin touched the umbrella and muttered softly. "So there was a reason Misa brought this umbrella." He drew the sword hidden inside the umbrella, carefully reminding Daphne, "Princess, please stay here obediently. Don't move." Thank you for watching today's video. Our story continues with many exciting developments ahead. So don't forget to press like and subscribe to the channel to support us and not miss the latest story episodes. We wish you moments of relaxation and fun. See you in the next video. Thank you for watching.